ladies, but there aren't any. So, welcome. I'm Stu White. I'm a lieutenant and senior inspector with Portland Fire and Rescue. These guys know me because they work with me. These guys know me because they have to associate with me. And you guys know me because you have to put up with me. Sorry. We're here today to talk about fire escapes. Feel free to pick on myself. Feel free to pick on Cisco Genesis, because Cisco has probably got more stuff inside the shiny thing. His hair fell out because of all the stuff he stuffed in there. It had nothing to do with those chemicals he was using for years. But he's been all over the country. He lives and breathes these lovely little devices that we deal with. And he's got a whole mess of information here. Feel free to pick on him. Pull out what information you can from our heads. Use what you can. Our policy is in front of you. You got copies of it. If you didn't pick up a copy of that, they're by the front door. We got coffee, we got donuts. We're going till 11:30 this morning. We're taking an hour-and-a-half lunch break, meeting back here at 1 o'clock for anybody who can. And then we're going to take a walk and take a look at some of these lovely exterior and metal structures that we have in Portland, some of which have been serviced, some of which have not been serviced, some of which have been serviced less than in a stellar fashion. So we've got the whole gamut, and we'll be playing with it. Several of the fire escapes that show up in Cisco's presentation are here. We've actually done this class. This is our third time now, I believe. Might be the fourth.
I think we're going on 6, but just counting. That's how long we've been at it.
So we've been doing it. We keep beating on the thing. I've got an assistant fire marshal from my office who's supposed to be attending today as well. Feel free to make him feel guilty when he walks in. Oh yeah, late. But what the heck? The boss can't be here, but we got the second boss, so that's a good thing too. We basically have a whole bunch of these things hanging out there. We're relying on the industry to help us get these things back into a good, safe condition, because we're throwing our guys on these fire escapes as well as the public. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Cisco, who has some rather graphic representations of those.
All right, well, Stu, before you go, just so you know, Stu and I have known each other since the very beginning when fire escapes were, either hurting or killing people out there. So just so you know, in 2016, we're putting out an award for the National Fire Escape Association for our model cities. And Stu is going to be receiving that award for the West Coast, that because of the many years he's put into it. We haven't picked the date yet when he's going to receive it. It's going to be in front of a lot of people like you. But of all the people that we've met on the West Coast, he's had the most effect to the point where your state is the first state to actually adopt a lot of the things that we talked about that nobody believed in. And so what you're seeing here as far as what's here, we actually talked about and pushed through, ran through, left behind, shoved, and it came through. So this is the first state that actually has a majority of the things that we're going to talk about again today already in. 49 states to go. So that's why he's going to be receiving the award for 2016. So if you want to give him a round of applause, it was his office. In these continued classes. So we've done. So thank you again, and feel free to ask. Yeah.
One other introduction is Aaron Lucas is out of San Francisco. He works with Cisco, so you got to give him sympathy and empathy both. But he's here to help, and he's also one of our resources to draw on.
Perfect, thank you. And so right now we have a mixed bag of people who has been already here to one of my classes before. Everybody raise your hand. Okay. Who has not ever been to one of our classes? Really much the rest of the people. So here's what we're going to be doing. What I'm representing to you today is basically 50 states worth of information. Every state, pretty much, if fire escapes are 95% horse, the rest of it, the 5% is the unicorn. And that's all we're going to talk about today. So today, we don't really want to go deep into fire escape, where they came from and why they came from. We really wanted to get into the nuts and bolts, rust, internal rust, load testing, and other evidence of strength. So today, we are going to put him on the hot seat and say, okay, is this other evidence of strength in lieu of a load test? So don't forget, there's always two options. Fire escapes must, the authority having jurisdiction can accept by a load test or other evidence of strength. So we're going to show that on all fire escapes, not just here, nationwide. There's two options for every fire escape. Okay. So with that being said, we have some documents. I'm going to go very quickly through this, and then I want to start drawing, and we're going to go into all the components of a fire escape. Okay, and then how this confidence test asks a question. There's 25 questions, specific questions about the fire escape that you would use if you are presenting other evidence of strength in lieu of a load test. Otherwise, what has been the norm, just so you know, in the entire US, no load testing, no other evidence of strength, but an opinion affidavit which simply states, to the best of my information, knowledge, and belief, the fire escape is in conformity with the Portland Code and ready for its intended use, not by me, but by the tenants and the firemen who are gonna save them, and possibly crash, burn, and die to the ground.
And almost as important as fire escapes is if you go through this door, the restrooms are on either side. Good point.
And the restroom, plenty of coffee.
I'll be the first one to check the evacuation route.
So I'll move quickly. Now, this is supposed to be interactive because we're gonna go very quickly into, components and what we found and what we look for. We're actually gonna talk about today also, what is a typical inspection bag? What should you be doing? All right, so I'll show you what is supposed to be done. Now, there's several people here. There's inspectors who are trying to find enough cause for a violation, so we gotta make your job easy to say, fire escapes must be structurally sound, must be kept painted. You find any of those two suspects, you've got enough, you can write your violation. You don't have to find the broken tread, the broken rail. That is the job of as it says right in the code, design professional or others acceptable to Portland Fire. We're gonna cover that too today. The second ones we have is the engineers. We're gonna tell them what is a typical inspection, what should you be doing, and what is the difference between a pass-fail, which gets this much money, and what is the difference between a repair report that gets this much money to watch the vendors who are in here? What is a repair? We're going to talk about that, because a spot repair versus a full repair, what we're going to show you is that with other evidence of strength, you can put off load testing for the next 15 to 25 years. So, a lot of this stuff is like, what? Yeah, ask, I'll tell you what the other states are doing, what this state is doing that is different than the other states. So there's good things and bad things, but the job here is not for me to say, this is what it is. Your job is to challenge anything and everything I say. Don't challenge me on code though, because I'm not a code consultant. I'm here to tell you what the code says, what the interpretation is of 50 states, and then every now and then I really need to go back to somebody like Stu and say, Stu, what is your interpretation of it? Okay, so everything I'm going to say is not set in stone. The last thing I'm going to tell you is everything I'm about to tell you, you already know. You just didn't realize it was there. And you just need to have a common sense approach to it, because if you see the code in 4 or 5 different areas, it says the same thing. If this code didn't say it, but this code did, you can say, well, if this code is saying that, but this code says it better, this is what it meant. So we'll cover all that today, okay? But do stop me, don't let me just keep flying along. We've got 3 hours here, we'll take a short break in about an hour and a half. So that puts it down at 10 o'clock, right? So I can roll. And yes, I will be showing some horror, because in 2014 we had more fatalities nationwide, and you're going to see some of them. Not because in a lot of cases I'm an expert witness in a lot of fire escape fatality cases, and so I get to see things that you guys don't realize. So let's start off with this picture, right? I love using this picture because look at the hats. What year is this? Huh? By the hats, what do you think? 35, 45, 55?
Well, East Coast, that could be today.
What is that?
Sorry. That was, well,
Yeah,
hey,
dodgy
sure.
darts.
After OSHA outlawed those leather helmets in the 80s, New York got back.
It's the look, everything's
But
about
a little
leather.
bit different, so it's probably pre-mid-80s.
Guys, let me tell you why. See that platform right there? 3 feet, 5 feet, 15 square feet, 1,500 pounds. That's the load test for that. 1,500 pounds. Got it? So if you take an average tenant running out of this place, right? That fire escape is rated so that 10 150-pound tenants in there can oh, sorry about that. Will you just go back one? Should. She'll always go back. 10 150-pound tenants are going to fit in a 3-foot by 5-foot. How many? Can we do that? Is that feasible? So this thing is overbuilt, guys. It's not built. It's overbuilt. So it'll take 10 people squished in there on their shoulders. Now let's take 300-pound firemen, 200 pound with 100 pound of gear and space. So if I can put 5 fully outfitted firemen in that 3x5. Is that a correct statement? Can you do that? Can you guys get 3 of your firemen in that? She's playing hard to get for some reason. Well, you get the picture. Can you? Can you put 5 of your firemen weighing 300 pounds apiece in that 3x5? Fully geared? So this fire escape, here's the best statement, a properly installed and maintained fire escape, okay, will never come down. You can load it with everybody in the building, that's possible, every tenant, every fireman on that fire escape, and she will never come down. Now, if the wall wants to give way, that's not something we're testing for, I'm saying, but most walls, if they haven't, what we attach to is a wall, and we assume that wall is in good condition. But do you understand? So you can show up at a fire escape situation, and every tenant and every fireman is on there, and you don't have to scream to get off. If that fire escape has one of the new tags on it, which is now, I have a picture of one of 2016, or it has a white tag on it that says the fire escape has been certified and what date it's been certified, and it's called the white tag that Seattle uses. Some other states use it. You guys have a tagging process here, and I will go over that also. So do you understand? So these things have been overbuilt from day one. Got it? Now, the only reason why they don't use them today, and I'll tell you why, because the building departments and the fire departments out there, the building departments were in charge of keeping these things certified. You guys don't play good volleyball as it is now, right? You guys don't. So the building department said, you know, yeah, keep it painted, because that's what's been happening. For 50 to 75 years, the fire escape has just been kept painted, not structurally been maintained. And so what happens is, right now, and during training, whenever you're training fire guys, the first thing that the gray-haired guys tell to the new recruits that come in is that in case of fire, don't use the
Fire escape.
right? And that's just because of the lack of confidence that says, listen, and in 40 out of 50 states, I teach fire prevention. It's back on you now. In the International Fire Code and the Building Code, as of 2012, fire escapes must be inspected every 5 years. It was never there. Do you imagine that in the entire country, fire escapes every 5-year inspection was never there until 2012? And now if you go to the IBC 2012, look for fire escape maintenance, you know what it says? See the IFC. So that's where it's gone, got it? But it was a surprise to me, but we've been doing this for over almost 10 years plus, and what happens is finally the IFC mandated that everything now must be certified every 5 years, meaning they want proof that it's good. No longer, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. They want to say, hey, can you prove to me that it works? The same way you guys are proving that sprinklers work and it's periodic, alarms work, extinguishers work. Finally, the bastard child of egress finally made it to fire protection. We're on the fire protection now, finally. And you know what it says? Every 5 years, prove to me it's good. So let's rock and roll. What you need? Tags, and you need procedures and guidelines. Everybody understands that every department has the right to create what's called departmental procedures and guidelines. What that means is sometimes you can't understand code, so you rely on people like you to sort of write something in your letterhead that says, here's what I think it means, here's what will satisfy me. So there's a write-up for how to properly inspect it, there's a write-up for how to properly repair it, and there's a write-up for how to properly paint it. Well, that's what it grew to. Okay? Do you agree with it or don't agree with it? That's okay. It'll work itself out. If it's too crazy, but at least there is. Nobody else has this, even online. Go find this document online in any of the 49 states. It doesn't exist. It's a model city, right? So a few things here I agree and disagree, but I agree with 95% of everything that's in here. We just got to find out what the loopholes are, because you know what this is? This is a mousetrap. It's made for rats, not for cats. This is just a piece of the mousetrap. Made to catch rats, not to catch cats. So if you're doing it right, you're interfacing with the city officials, guess what? These will never hurt you. Okay? So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to kick that around. Let's rock and roll. There's your document. Tells you everything. Oh, by the way, I just saw this just hit me. Welding, let's be clear. Let's be clear. Guys, grab this book. You don't believe me? You know, call EPA. EPA guidelines. I'm trying to see if I have it here. Which form? Here it is, right here. The EPA in 2010, you know what they told everybody in the country? If you are working on any structure older than 78, if you're working, it has lead. And as a contract, we want you to take a renovator's license class. Anybody here ever seen one or heard of the EPA renovator's class that you have to take as a contractor? There's one, and what that tells you is you go in for 8 hours and you're going to walk out with your EPA renovator's license. And you get to walk in a room like this and identify where all the lead is. You get to put plastic everywhere. You get to wear the white suits, the little masks, and the little plastic gloves, which the OSHA says, what the hell? So it's an 8-hour class of dealing with lead, and there's the booties you gotta wear, the vacuumed room so that you can't have the HEPA vac. I mean, it goes on and on. But you know what you do? You can work inside. It also says you can work outside. So if I have a fire escape that's older than 1978, it's subject to EPA rules and guidelines. And you know what it says? Outside, it's a little bit less stringent than it is inside. I have to put some plastic on the ground out about 20 feet. My guys gotta wear the white. We gotta scrape a fire escape, no sandblasting, no power assisted tools. And we have to capture all those chips, properly bag them, gooseneck them, and then suck all the air out of the bags and put them in a construction dumpster. That's called an EPA renovator's license. Now, if you want to de-lead a fire escape, we're not allowed. We don't have the astronaut suits, the oxygen masks, the blood draws, and the negative vacuum that has to happen, and the power sandblasters. So whenever somebody's going to sandblast a fire escape, that's all, and it has to be a licensed abater. Renovator, abater. So just be aware that all fire escapes in the U.S. they use renovators. A lot of times the abatement process on a fire escape is so sky high in cost that you can replace the fire escape cheaper than you can sandblast it down to bare metal. Got it? So, with that, 2010, 2016. Oh, by the way, if you get caught welding on a fire escape, so this is one of the things you have to get out of here. You can't weld fire escapes if they're older than 78. Can you weld a brand new one? Sure you can. Is welding bad? No, it's not. What's the problem with welding? In order for me to prove that it's a good weld, I can give you an opinion with a disclaimer. You taking opinions with disclaimers? Putting the owner and the city back on the hot seat? Chicago got in the hot seat because of weld. You take it? No?
There are methods for accepting it.
Here?
Yes.
Well, it's okay. You know why? Because Chicago had the same method, and you know what? You know where they're heading toward? They didn't know that they were accepting some liability, because when they got dragged into court on a weld, and I was there, I had the privilege, I have a million reasons to tell you why, welds are, but welds are good if they're properly maintained. You know how you eliminate a weld concern? You keep your weld, which is a good weld. You don't x-ray it, you don't load test it, but you blow a bolt through it, guess what happens? Doesn't matter anymore. So it's cheaper to blow a bolt through a weld and satisfy a city official than worry about who's he and disclaimers and stuff like that. But so it's EPA, okay? So these are some of the things we have to make sure everybody, but if the fire escape is fairly new and you want to weld it, well, to your heart's content. You have to have a certification? Yep, you have to have a certification. Should you seal that weld after the fact so that no water gets in there? Yes, you have to. Otherwise, 5 years from now, when some other engineer comes to and examine it, and they see rusty tears coming through it in any form or fashion, what do they have to say? Suspect. No, you don't have to tear it out. Suspect. At what point is this? And a lot of times it's the rusty tears, but every now and then through a weld you see the bulge. As soon as it bulges, rust jacking, now it's not suspect anymore. It's a violation. And now you have to rip it open, clean it, prime it. So these are some of the things that we're going to be dealing with. Confidence test. If everybody wants to pull this out, 6 pages. We're not going to talk. We're going to talk about this at the end. So this is the latest, greatest that we have out. So there's 2 types. There's one type that anybody can get right off our website and just use it as a standard confidence test. There's 25 questions. We'll go at the end of this class. We're going to go line by line, question by question. Got it? But just so you know, there's a reason why this is put together, and that is, there's one that the city of Portland puts it out as a model city. They want to have their logo at the top. I think you see the city of Portland one. So the only change is really going to be on the top. If the city wants to put out one as a standard, they can. If not, then they can say, hey, I want you to fill out an industry standard confidence test. And if the city ever gets questioned like, I'm not filling out that document, you say, well then, the questions that are on there, can you please answer the questions that are on there and put them on your own letterhead. So this is nothing but an industry standard questionnaire that helps you identify, if you're going to go for other evidence of strength, what the city is looking for you to meet what's called other evidence of strength. Or, in some cases, it's going to be cheaper to load test it. But in the majority of the cases, nationwide, it's not. It's cheaper to refurbish that fire escape and maintain other evidence of strength. So we're going to cover that today. So page 1 is page 1 and 2, as you can see, is the start of the questionnaire. A lot of information about licenses, insurance, make sure everybody's up, because I'll tell you, there's doctors, and there's witch doctors, got it? So that's all this questionnaire is about. You got doctors, and you got witch doctors. And this is, like I said, this is a mousetrap for rats, not for cats. So if you have all the information you need, this is not a document that's gonna bother you. Now, just so you know, what you guys have here is a problem that's a nationwide problem. Now, when I did this in 2003, when I started, doing seminars in 2003, it was basically jump-started, and it's always jump-started by some form of tragedy. You guys remember the Station Night fire that killed 200 people rocking into a band, the Great White, I believe? Right after that, the Channel 7 called me and said, listen, I'd like to do a story on fire escapes and how, in case there's a fire, get yourself out. And then I says, do you know that I inspect fire escapes? And that over 75%, more like 85, 90% of everything I look at does not pass inspection. Nationwide, not just here, everywhere. And from that, the average is 25 to 50% have life safety concerns immediately after my inspection. If not when I get there. She goes, I don't believe you. I said, great. Let's do this. I said, if you want to meet in the downtown district where the theater district is, and that's where you're going to get most of your older buildings. And I gave her a 15-minute class, told her what to look for the major things, not the minor things, the major things that you can see from the ground. And I said, now go inspect. She goes, show me some fire escapes. I said, no, pick any one you want. And so we just walked around throughout Boston, throughout Back Bay. We went around several times, and this is what, so instead of a 1-minute piece about, hey, save yourself a fire escape, she came up with this. And this was the launch of what we call the Fire Escape Seminar.
The smoke, the flames, and the frightened faces, all in a firefighter's line of duty. But Chief William Hitchcock remembers the night it wasn't the fire that almost stopped him, but the fire escape that broke underneath him.
The rail just came away from the building.
And our investigation found across Massachusetts more unsafe fire escapes, rusty, deteriorating, crumbling, broken. And what state officials didn't know, the system they set up to keep fire escapes safe is also falling apart.
The potential ramifications are disastrous.
So let's look at this one. This expert ironworker is licensed to build, maintain, and inspect fire escapes. So that over here,
My evil twin
for
brothers.
months, we examined dozens of them with alarming
You got the
results.
hair.
Looking at this today, would this pass inspection?
No.
In dormitories, at theaters, at homes, and apartment buildings.
Rust is actually eating away the metal of the fire escape.
Right.
And the bottom line?
It'll get weak and then eventually it'll fall.
This one
Like my
has
hair.
rotted connections. This one missing bolts, twisted metal.
Would the stairs come down?
No, never come down.
This one a broken tread.
So how dangerous is it for the people inside this building?
This fire escape is definitely going to put somebody either in the hospital or it's going to put somebody in a cemetery.
Fire escapes are so critical. The state building code requires they be certified for structural adequacy and safety every 5 years. But our investigation found that safeguard is simply being ignored. Here's proof. We chose fire escapes at random in Boston, Somerville, Cambridge,
Without me.
here in Quincy.
She went on her
We
own now.
checked building department files
But there's no fire escape certification.
to see if building owners had submitted their mandatory inspection reports.
There's no certification in this one either.
Bottom line, not one we checked in Quincy had been certified as safe. And the Director of Inspectional Services admitted because of staffing shortages, the city has no idea how many other fire escape owners are breaking the rules.
And as a result, do you know how many fire escapes in your city are safe or not?
Well, I don't know.
In Worcester, that's my cousin. Worcester's fire. Or more fire escapes,
Did it fall through the cracks? No.
not one up-to-date certification. And again, no system for keeping track.
How can they get away?
I guess the shortest answer of all is because we don't have the resources to sit here and follow up on these things.
If structural deficiencies are reported, local building inspectors can actually evacuate residents until repairs are made.
Would you talk to us on camera about this? No?
But when we surveyed 24 more communities, most admitted they had no idea how many fire escapes were certified. In Taunton, inspectors told us they haven't seen a certification in 25 years. Northampton officials said it's a cold day in hell when that happens. In Cambridge, too, not one of our test buildings was certified, and the official in charge would not come out to discuss it. In Boston, where there are more than 8,000 fire escapes, again, according to inspectional services, not one we checked was certified. Officials know they are required to enforce the building code, but they admit they don't always know if owners are breaking the law.
The building code is being ignored.
Right, but it's difficult to write a violation when you don't have knowledge of something like that.
But state officials say for a critical issue like this, communities should know. And they warn the Massachusetts building code is not optional.
Does it worry you that these fire escapes are not being certified?
This is an important issue and should not be ignored.
That's because after the smoke and flames begin, it'll be too late to learn you've got no way out.
I can't stress it enough, Hank, that these things have to be maintained and someone's got to be watching.
As a result of our investigation, state officials will now issue an alert to local inspectors. Meanwhile, if there's a fire escape on your home or office, you can contact your local building department to make sure it's properly certified. In the newsroom, I'm Hank Philippi Wright.
Okay, so why? Why did that happen? Well, take a look at the back of your book. In '73, this is why it happened. Because prior to that, the IBC said, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And if you don't look at it, it doesn't exist. But in 1973, when the firemen was saving this woman out on Back Bay, which is $1 Million Road in Boston, right? And he was up on the 4th floor saving this woman and her niece. And as the fire truck was coming over so that he can get her off the fire escape, with one hand, and he's still alive today. One hand, he saved himself by grabbing the ladder. Look at the series of photographs, and this one a Pulitzer Prize photograph, this one here, by a Herald reporter. And basically, she fell, she died. Her niece landed on her, but look at all the components of the fire escape falling. So back then, they amended the code, and it said all fire escapes must be inspected every 5 years. So 2003, which is 30 years later, what happened? So like anything else, whenever there's a fire, whenever there's a tragedy, everybody wants to do something, and as quickly as it can just go away by itself until we have another death. And that's what's coming. So I said this in Philadelphia on a case that I'm about to show you right now. I taught 50 L&I inspectors at the Liberty chapter. Said, guys, Philadelphia, the worst fire escapes in the nation. I told them it's not a matter of if, it's when. And 6 months later, boom, 3 people fell to their death. 3 people fell, 1 died at hospital, and I became an expert witness on that case. And then there was a lot of fanfare running around, I'm gonna do something about it, and then I was brought in and brought out, and till this day, who has called me? Except the lawyer who hired me to be an expert witness on the case. You know who called me? Who promised they were gonna call me? The city officials, the building department, the counselors. You know what they've done till this day? Nothing. So sometimes things happen, sometimes things don't happen, but this is one of the things that we talked about, that you just gotta keep at it. It took 75 years to screw this up. You're not gonna fix it in 75 months or 75 days. But as soon as you change the mindset, now here's what we've done with Boston. Boston, as soon as they did this, they created, the quick knee-jerk reaction happened that in Boston, you pull a permit in Boston, right? Now, in order to close the permit, you need the fire escape certification. So we started, and we've been working with Lowell, our other model city. It's called the Safe Structures Initiative. Pretty simple, sounds great, doesn't it? Love it, Safe Structures Initiative. And what that is, you need to add it to your checklist. So I'm coming in to finally do a sign-off on one of these smoke detectors so you can take occupancy. The last thing on my checklist, even if you have to write it in for now on some of your paperwork until you get new paperwork, it said, I'd like a copy of your confidence test. Right? Now, are you ordering a confidence test? Just looking for a copy. Having none, do you stop the process? Do you not allow people to occupy the building? Better not. That's how it's going to shut down. It just started a trigger that says, okay, I'll give you 30 days, start occupying your building, because you're going to anyway. You weren't asking for that before, but it starts the process. You need to have a partnership, because the Safe Structures Initiative also includes the building department. Because when the building department now, they can put the question after a permit for the certification at the end or at the beginning, because when you go pull a permit, what do I need? Money, plans, pay your taxes, is your water all set? Because they won't let you fix the thing until you've reset any and all clocks. Set that Safe Structures Initiative there also. So as part of the requirement to pull a permit, you need to make sure that OSHA says your fire escape is good, because we're gonna talk about OSHA. 1910.37 says you do anything to a building, guess what you need? You need to have 2 means of egress certified before you can work on any fire escape structure, on any building. So we're gonna cover that today too. So you're just asking to say, because most fires start when people are remodeling, putting screws in and doing all kinds of stuff. So before, you need to have 2 means. Now if you get there, the person who's about to knock down or work on this 5-story building $1 million, you can't stop that. You stop that, the building department will come down on you. But there's an answer. If the fire escape is no good, you use scaffolding. Because the OSHA says, until equivalent safety measures are taken, acceptable to the building department and the fire department. So can they continue working? Of course you can. So we'll talk about the Safe Structures Initiative afterwards, okay? So it takes this to get people moving. So let's talk about this. This is what's happening right now throughout the United States. This is called live load testing. We actually use lives, okay? And in some cases, when these people aren't here, it's firemen doing something, getting your nose out there. We're gonna teach you inspectors that from the ground and out poking your nose out the window, that's all you need to know. You have only 2 requirements to write a violation. Must be structurally sound, must be kept painted. You see any evidence of rust jacking, rusty tiers, jacking of any kind, that's all you need. You don't need, the professional is gonna tell you just how extensive the damage is. You will never step out on a fire escape and take a peek. You'll be able to open a door and just very quickly by looking at the treads and the quick glance, and that's what we teach, you have enough to say, I need a certificate on this. And hire a design professional, others acceptable to the building official. We'll cover that also, okay? So let me tell you some of the people that have died. These have had collapses. Even in Boston, Harvard, when they have the parades, there was a cast iron piece on one of these tops, and they were doing just that. And the cast iron piece let go of the top piece, and it came down like a javelin. And there was an entranceway to the big apartment complex below, and guess what happened? What happened? Missed them, yeah, you're right, they missed them. So it came down and it speared the ground next to somebody sitting there, but whew, they moved it, right? So, talking about, if you understand, New York City, when they had no AC, where did everybody sleep? EMTs, sometimes they can't get people out the front, where do they get them out? Through the fire escapes. When all hell breaks loose, and even though you've been told don't use the fire escape, what are firemen going to use? And this is an example of what happens to us, even in our industry. One of my guys in Chicago, his dad, 57 years old, fell 7 stories to his death doing that. It's a deck of cards. So, believe me, it doesn't discriminate. Fire escapes will take anybody. Oh, this is also, if there's a new show coming online, it's called Fire Escapes. It's one of these, not documentaries, it's one of these comedies where everybody sort of cheats on their wives and everybody sort of just uses the fire escape now to go get sugar from the neighbor. So, coming soon. No, that's why love is fatal. And there's people that do this, so, right? This happens, people are using fire escapes now as backdrops. Students, non-smoking buildings, where do you go? Right? And candles, they burn a lot of candles up. If you have your mixed fruit.
But right now, firefighters are taking out the ladders and rolling up the hoses. But earlier in the night, when they pulled up, there were flames coming out of the side of the building. Firefighters say it was one of the scarier moments because when you pull up to a building and you see children and mothers hanging
8-year-old child
outside of the fire escape, smoke swirling around them, they said that's scary, scary stuff. They got up there, they got the ladders up, and they said nobody got hurt.
The fire escape, there was 3 or 4 people hanging off the fire escape. They couldn't get off. They were just on the fire escapes. I had people hanging in their fire escapes at the rear of the building, and on this side of the building, we had a bunch of people on that fire escape.
Well, about 50 people were displaced inside this building. Our firefighters say there's good news tonight. It looks like everybody will be allowed to go back in, except the one unit where the fire was in. They said that's good luck to them tonight. I'm Bob Wilson, on the scene of Bridgeport, News 8.
I went back 6 months later to inspect all those fire escapes, every one of them failed, and 6 months later after that, how many were fixed? None. So, but did you see that picture of the child? How many of you have taught your child how to go down a ladder? You know what I'm saying? And hang there 12 feet off the ground, because the ladder didn't come down. Got it? So, and do you hear what he said? 50 people, and they couldn't get off the ladder. They couldn't get off the fire escape. So was this a fire mission or a rescue mission right off the bat? Most fires need how much time to kill everybody? 3 to 5 minutes? Because it's not the fire that kills you, it's the what? Smoke. And so here we have a firefighter, a reporter that's like, oh, it was lucky today. Because fire escapes are for one reason only, for people to self-evacuate. We don't need you. We get out. When you show up, the fire escape is there for you to do what? Get in the building and fight the fire. Using what? Your beautiful ladders on the truck, or use the fire escape, which has a nice tag on it that says, real good. So if we can get the confidence up that says, you know it's good.
Witnesses say it sounded like an incredible explosion when the fire escape of the Philadelphia apartment building suddenly collapsed and injured 3 people. NBC 10 cameras were there as a friend holds on to one of the victim's hands, who is apparently conscious as the victim is placed into an ambulance by medics. KYWTV reports a man who was critically injured and 2 women were rushed to local hospitals. Police believe the bolts of the fire escape appeared to have been rusted and dislodged from the brick wall of the apartment building. The victims fell more than 30 feet to the ground, and now the incident is under investigation. Worth noting, the complex is more than 100 years old and even on Philadelphia's historic registry. Local reporters are all pointing out the city's licenses and inspections department hasn't filed any violations in the past when it comes to the old building. So sudden collapse came about.
100-year-old building.
Neighbors say
They've
the
never
3
filed
victims
any
reported the
violations.
employees may have been partying on the fire escape landing before the incident. For Newsy, I'm Elizabeth Hager.
Birthday party. It's a birthday party. Hey, 3 people. 2 girls survived with scars from here to here. Because as I'm doing my activity, in there, the guy had put some autopsy photos, and I'm like, I'm just looking for fire escape stuff, and all of a sudden I open that file, and I go, oh. Guys, I happen to be there after this Saturday.
Over here in Philadelphia. All right. Some of these.
This is not part of my investigation. I just happened to be there when this occurred a day or 2 later.
This piece here, which this is the back, used to be up against the building. These 2 brackets here used to be going to that 4th, 5th floor up there, where you now see the 2 blowouts. The blowout on the left and the blowout on the right. And it used to be attached there. And then this staircase, which is here, it went to that platform up there. And that platform up there also had a bracket which is now laying inside the floor below. So they either were going up to that upper floor or they were on this fire escape. And as soon as they let go on this side or up above, which looks like it's all blown out, as soon as they let go there,
Through both.
it basically tore away and fell down, or the bracket that holds one of the legs, one of these legs is sitting on a bracket like this, and it's up there, you can see it on the floor below there. See?
Got it? So, and by the way, tenants, could have been me inspecting that thing, right? Could have fallen with me and 1, 2, or 3 guys. But again, you have a pre-load test evaluation would have kept me off of that, right? But had they load tested this fire escape, would that have given way with sandbags? Oh, by the way, you're not supposed to load test it when you know it's going to fail anyway. So remember, there's no load testing allowed when there's clear evidence that the fire escape has rust jacking, spalling, or any indicator. So fire escapes can only be load tested after. Because we've had owners try to force us to load test as is. We're telling you, because you know what it looks like when it passes, right? You know what it looks like when it fails? And then when it's on the ground, guess what the owner wants you to do to it? Put it back up. For how much? Like, no. So here's another one. This is a great one. Every one of these has a story. So this fire escape used to be over there. And the owner turned it into condos, because it used to be a big apartment complex, turned it into condos. And him and his sons put the fire escape, put the new roof on. But in order to put the roof on, you have to lift the fire escape up and then put it back down. So when you put it back down, like any good mechanic, you have extra bolts after you rebuild the motor. What do you need those bolts for?
They go in the coffee can.
They go in the coffee can for the next rebuild. And so, this mess was up there, and this is where it landed only about 10 feet off the ground, because they were selling the condo. So there was the real estate agent, the other real estate agent, the seller, the buyer, and the what do you call it, the trustee of the building. So they all went up there to say, hey, and there's three of these three fire escapes. There's one over there, there's one over here, and the one I'm taking a picture from. And they were horrific. So while they're up there, she falls down with everybody underneath that steel. Anybody die? No. Were they able to get to their cell phone? Yes. They made their first call is to? Not 911, you call who? Call your lawyer. Say, I think I hit a lottery. Can you please do me one extra favor, and that is, before I pass out from all the crushing, can you call 911? The whole thing got into litigation, and it's, you understand? So, these things will catch you if you're not paying attention.
A startling scene in downtown Colorado Springs Wednesday after a man falls to his death.
I was just walking up the street to the bus stop, and the cops were right there, told me I could come this way.
Police say the victim and several others were working on the roof of this privately owned building when the man fell.
He may have fallen a distance of anywhere from 15 to 20 feet is what's being investigated right now.
Tragically, the man died on scene. It's believed he fell from the fire escape and not the roof or a window, although how it happened is still unknown.
That's what's being investigated right now to determine the actual cause of the accident itself.
Right now, police say the death is not criminal and is being called an industrial accident.
There were several witnesses, individuals who were working with the deceased party, and so we've interviewed them as witnesses in this investigation.
It's really sad. Feel bad for his family. I mean, I don't know him, but prayers and best wishes to his family, for sure.
Others in the area expressing similar concerns and well wishes, visibly distraught by the day's events.
I mean, I can't even imagine it just coming out to do your job one day and just fall off of the roof. It's really sad.
So, we're gonna need some more.
Keep them coming, huh?
Guys, what this failure was, I was actually called by OSHA on that particular fire escape. What happened was, it's a cantilevered, they were working on the roof, and instead of having a cherry picker or something there, what did they use the fire escape for? Part of their staging, part of their prep, so they're going up and down. The cantilever didn't want to work for some reason, and it's the cantilever that doesn't have the weight on the back, it has the weight on the nose, and it has a cable on the nose. Okay? By the way, OSHA doesn't let you build those anymore. So if you try to build a new fire escape and you want to put a nose weight on it, they won't let you. Because they're guillotines, they're hammers. Huh?
No, those are all good. Perfect, thank you.
So what happened there, guys, this is exactly the case. Fire escape like this, the fire escape came out. Had the nose weight going up to a weight box here that, basically goes up and down, and this thing swings down to here. So, 3 guys went out because she wouldn't come down. This is the guy that died. The information is sketchy, but what I was told happened is that they were trying to get this down so they could bring stuff up to the roof. So unrelated fire escape activity. But this was frozen because the pulley system was most likely frozen up here, the pulley wheel. So the first guy went out and jumped a bunch of times on it, nothing. Brought out 2 more guys. Finally, when this thing snapped, the whiplash of the snap went whoosh, right through his neck, and the rest is history. Got it? So that's what happened. So everybody fell, but he died. But I think what I was told was, in those small words, there was a whiplash of the cable. Got it? So, a couple more deaths for you. Nothing like a cup of coffee and death in the morning. What's that movie?
Napalm.
I love the smell.
I love the smell of it.
All right, so guys, another one, Boston, Massachusetts, 5 stories. This building is on a hill. This building is 5 stories. This building is 5 stories. So this 5-story building sees the roof of this next story building. Brand new deck on this one, and my fire escape from a young kid, 28 years old, and his girlfriend, goes out my window, but goes onto their deck, and they have a beautiful deck out there. So what would you do at, 2, 3 in the morning after you come back from clubbing? You're a hipster, what do? You go out there, and you go and, enjoy the neighbor's deck. It's your own private deck, right? So all of a sudden now, see that railing that's missing there? What happens? The phone rings, and you have to go back. So the guy goes, listen, I know how to get back, because, they've been, and so as they're heading back, instead of, he goes back to answer the phone, and they still have phones in the house. Remember those things they used to have in the house? She goes back, and she misses the whole thing, and she, boom, 5 stories, she's dead. Okay? Why? Missing pieces of the fire escape. So why do you need catwalks on roof? During smoke and craziness, all fire escapes must be complete to grade. So you land on a roof, until you get into a public way, you control them with a fire escape system from the top to the bottom and out to a public way. They're locked in a fence yard, you gotta tell them you can't have a locked fence. So if you go over any roofs, there has to be a catwalk system, there has to be railing systems protecting people from doing stupid things, because it will cost you your life. Got it? This is me in Iowa, another case I was involved in Iowa. 3 students went up to that up there to watch the fireworks on July 4th. And they had just recently fixed the fire escape, and see right there, that bracket right there used to be right there. But because when they fixed the siding and the stuff and the thing had a through bolt, the guy said, let me put back a lag bolt where there used to be a through bolt. So what do you think happens? Oh, by the way, the hole is a 1/2 inch round and the lag bolt is 1/2 inch, so guess what are we getting there? So 3 kids get up there, and they basically look at the boom boom of the fireworks, then all of a sudden it goes boom, boom, boom. Oh, sorry. Got it, guys? So, there's a new show coming online, it's called Firescape CSI. And, we basically investigate fire escape incidents. So here's another one. Now, we're in the middle of a cornfield somewhere in Iowa, because they were supposed to keep the evidence, locked up safely. So they took this fire escape and threw it in a cornfield, like 8 blocks away, and we just happened to go look at the piece because it was a lawsuit. So here we are, lawyers and officials are in there, and what did we find? This is all properly supported and cordoned off with grass hiding. So to make a long story short, we find the smoking gun still attached to the angle. That should have been a through bolt.
This might be down here.
Got it?
This was at the staircase, that went on the roof, and this was the little leg. I don't know where this comes from yet, but we'll look like.
Firescape CSI, it's coming out this fall. Keep an eye out for it. It's a reality program. But most of the people that play in the show actually don't live till the next season. There's always there's gotta be some hardship there. So they put it back. Not only did they put it back and through bolted back into the building, they were so insecure about it, they put a leg to the ground on it. And that leg went right to the roof. On pressure treated sleeper? Or right on the shingles? Right on the shingles, why not? And that little piece of thing, I said, I don't know what this corner piece is, right there. There was holes there for you to, attach that back in. So I was able to go there when we went back and reinvestigated. I was able to pick up the lower part, walk it over 2 feet, and walk it back and drop, because they added legs here onto pressure treated sleepers? Or right into the shingles?
That's for ease of cleaning the roof.
The rain.
Replacing the shingles, when they go bad, you gotta change it up.
So, so let me take a small little break here. Let's not a coffee break, but a break. Question so far, because I'm about to tell you who can inspect fire escapes. You guys see? And we've got a few more. We got 1 or 2 more fatalities.
Detail in 5 minutes. Engine 1 in the air, 5 minutes.
Any questions so far? Because like I said, a lot of the stuff you already know. Okay? You already know this stuff. You just didn't know you knew it. And we're going to get into the nitty-gritty stuff. Got it? All right, who can inspect fire escapes? Let me tell you, the people that can inspect fire escapes, and it's right on the code. I'm going to show you where it says in the code. The code states that design professionals may inspect the fire escape. So, does that include design registered in the state? There's a list. So, are engineers there? Architects there? They registered design professional? Because the code says so. Not just engineers have the, inspections. Architects can, because they're considered design professional. They think city officials inspect fire escapes. And they come and say, hey, he said that tread, don't fix any more than that tread, don't climb up, don't climb down, don't walk around. He said this tread is bad, fix this tread so I can get my violation removed. Do city officials inspect fire escapes? Nope. You only identify a violation, something that's suspect. The fire escape must be structurally sound, must be kept painted. And when I say painted, it means more paint than rust. So if you look at a fire escape that's got a lot of good paint on it and a couple of spots, that's not a failure. It's got more paint than rust. Okay? But you start seeing rust jacking in any connections, rusty tears in any connections. You see rusty tears coming down a wall by the cement. Is it suspect? There's your violation. Don't get on it, don't walk on it, don't do anything. And that's why this afternoon is for you to walk up to fire escapes. And you'll be able to walk up to a fire escape and write a violation based on what you visually see on the first and second floor. You'll be able to get so good at it that you can be across the street, and we're going to practice that this afternoon, and you can look across the street, and you only need two things as a fire inspector or a building inspector. Must be structurally sound, must be kept painted. So a fire escape can be structurally sound, has not been kept painted, and you write a violation. It's still going to get fully examined, yes?
You keep saying keep painted, that doesn't make sense in my eyes about painting. I mean, to me it would be nuts and bolts need to be sound and so forth. I mean,
Yeah, the law, there's the maintenance.
painting is stuff that doesn't make sense.
Well, if you don't keep it painted, then it's not going to stay structurally sound forever. So if you don't paint it, you're not maintaining it. The code is very clear. Must be structurally sound, must be maintained, and must remain unobstructed. So I get there and I see bicycles and cans. You fail on that because it's fully obstructed. You can't put lawnmowers with and propane tanks underneath your fire escape. Yes.
Yeah, one of the things, and I can understand her saying keep painted, maybe she doesn't understand that's the end result for protection of all the metal is the painting.
But I do
Go ahead.
fire escapes, and that's what I do for a living. And one of the things I see is when I'm doing my fire escape walks and working on this is they have painted it 10 times. And then you go in to go look at it and it's a Swiss cheese of metal underneath it. It's very difficult to actually, somebody can go out and just go do a paint job and go, oh, that looks good. I see it numerous times, and what happens is then I'll go out there and then I'll go do an inspection. You just have to, you can lift corners and you can see the holes. Visually, after you've painted it, you can't see all the holes in
A witch
in
doctor's
the
been
metal.
there, yeah.
Correct. And so when you keep saying about the painting, to me, it's just, you have, yes, you can see it's been painted, but you physically have to go out and look and see the Swiss, the cheesy pitted holes of the metal.
Sure, we're going to go through the
itself.
inspection process now, so that's good. So fire escapes must be structurally sound and must be kept painted, right? So a lot of people start with, I'm going to get it painted first, and then I'm going to deal with the structural sound second.
Correct.
So what happens is, this is how it works. When you get bids out there, the owner gets bids, he's going to get the nasty threes, ready? A typical 5-story fire escape will get the nasty threes. They'll get a price for $3,000, $13,000, $33,000. Now the witch doctor's going to get in there for $3,000 because the owner a lot of times will pick him first. He's going to show up with buckets of paint, some tools, and caulking. And he will magically make that fire escape look like when you get there. And the day he calls for an inspection, which he calls the structural engineers or the registered architects or the fire escape inspectors, he makes sure it's wet and tacky. So that when they walk up there, they're going to get paint on themselves so that they are forced to inspect it from where? From the ground. And then they have that document there that needs to be signed available because they're going to make $300, $500, $800. Got it? So that is a natural event that's happening. The confidence test that we're talking about and that you already have. You already have a confidence test here. We'll talk to you about how to use the current confidence test and what it really means, and the new confidence test that we're proposing that we use nationwide, how that gets even deeper and asks specific questions that you can't have an opinion on. You have a statement, a yes, no answer. Okay? So when it comes to painting, after fire escapes are being repaired, because now we have a repair document from a structural engineer, not a pass-fail, because those cost you this much. A repair report identifies, well, a pass-fail tells you what's the problem. It doesn't tell you where they are and how many exist. A repair document is a walk back by the same engineer, and he's gonna tell you, because he charges this much now, and it includes 3 visits, he's gonna tell you where it is and how many exist. And that's where you're gonna get the bids from the vendors in the area. It says, oh, 72 treads, 12 supports, so many linear feet of this, and always with photographs. In today's digital world, you have to have photographs, right? And so what happens? Now, the vendor knows that he has to repair this. Now, when the vendor starts repairing this fire escape, he's supposed to repair and spot prime. Can he paint again? No. So he's supposed to repair, spot prime, silicone shut, right? With latex, paintable silicone, because you know what happens when you put silicone on connections? It won't adhere, the paint won't adhere to it. So you have to have a siliconized latex that is paintable, and the average life on that is 35 years. So you take any connection apart, railing, tread, whatever, take it apart, wire brush it, get all the rust out, prime it, and a lot of times you have to use, like a Rust-Oleum spray primer, because it dries like that. And then before you put the connection back, what do? You grab your caulking gun and you caulk into it. It's gonna be messy as hell. And then when you squish it, what happens? It comes out, and then you know what you do with this finger? You goop it all around, and you leave it primed. Because who's gonna look at it? Because you're not allowed to paint. Paint is the lot, so now repairs.
And that's not how we paint afterwards too, as long as we get our load tests done.
No, we're gonna get to the load, we're gonna get to the
Well,
paint.
you're saying that, I do my repairs and then I paint before, I don't have an inspection come out.
No, we're telling you what we recommend, so that
Oh, okay.
this is recommended, this is what is done throughout the country, so that there's a control. So if a fire escape is being repaired, who wants to come and look at it that the repairs are being done correctly? The owner who's paying the money? Do you think he wants to see good work? So when he gets there on a black fire escape, looking at brown spots, what's he looking for? Brown spots. They're either done right or they're done wrong. Can you hide anything yet? Can you hide rust while you're priming? Just priming on a particular fire escape? Your city official can come out. The engineer's gonna come out. Now, if you have a 10-story, can he release certain floors because he's got evidence that everything was done correctly? Of course he can. But until the final, including load testing, because doesn't load testing destroy things? Doesn't it scratch things? Right? So when the fire escape is fully structurally sound, and there's been sign-offs by everybody who wants to look at it, not that everybody has to look at it, but anybody who wants to look at it, can they come out? It's been load tested or other evidence of strength. Have you ever used other evidence of strength? Are you aware that a full refurb eliminates the load test? In lieu of a load test, a full refurb on a fire escape, and I'll prove it to you today, that's what the rest of the country's doing, there is no load test. So it's not what's been happening, I'm just going to open it up, yes?
Yeah, I work for a testing company, and we test a lot of fire escapes. The main reason why we load test is because engineers cannot see the connections. That's most of the failures that you showed us. You can't design a connection you can't see, or re-engineer it. So that's why we load test.
Perfect, let's answer that right now. 95% of a fire escape, and again, we're going to cover this, is outside the building. And can you look at every one of those connections?
Well, you can look at the outside, but you can't see the
main
primary supports that are inside the building.
No, I understand. I'll cover it right now.
Okay.
And let's throw rocks at him. Don't throw rocks at me, okay?
Okay.
And again, this is done in all the other states.
Right.
So let's see if, and it's good. This is that conversation challenges. But we need somebody to put the hammer down and say, yeah, I'll accept that. Well, he's here. Let's throw it at him, right? So let's start first with a tread. If I have a tread, a rail, or a connection, right? And I take the connection is going to be an original bolt that's going to stay, that's 50, 75 years old, and it's either a square head or a rivet, and she's super tight, been kept painted. What's the only way that I can verify that bolt?
Removal.
No, load test.
Load test. Is that what you're saying? So you keep it, you load test it. How often? Every 5 years. Pretty simple. By the way, 100 pounds per square foot or 200 pounds?
200.
All right, just That's, you're the only state that's doing that, because nobody else is doing 200 pounds, but God bless you. All right, number two,
We're in the lead.
We're pioneers in a lot of fashion in Oregon. Some good, some not so good.
No, I know, it's okay, and we can, and so let's work with everybody so everyone can understand. So he says, yes, you keep it, so spot repairs require load testing, because you're gonna keep an original bolt 50 to 75 years old. Yes.
Question then, to get a certification, you have to have an affidavit to show that it's passed all criteria in the city of Portland. And I do believe the criteria has to be a load test, am I incorrect?
That is what the printed policy states.
So every fire escape has to be load tested
We
to
do
pass
ex-
through the
we-
fire.
But we do accept confidence testing in lieu of. It is not part of the written policy at this point. Some of us have had this discussion over the last, what, a year and a half now?
Yes.
It's been more than a year since my bosses and I have failed to talk about it, so, yeah.
Let's-
We've had this discussion too, it's pulling teeth.
Okay.
Yeah, pulling teeth upstairs can be difficult when you only have a short pair of pliers and you're trying to reach 5 stories. So, we're there, but that is an option, it's not spelled out clearly yet.
Okay, but at this point, we're not looking at the second option, we're looking at the first option is as we're processing and communicating with clients, communicating with the public, whoever we're speaking with at this time. It is at this point, our policy with the city is to have a load testing.
You gotta remember, the city of Portland is the city of appeals. I say that in my outside voice. So, if you picture that we accept a lot of appeals, and I've got a couple of folks sitting in the room here that know this for a fact, we deal with a lot of not necessarily brilliant appeals. But for you guys, coming from the industry side of it, if you were to look at this and say, you know what, this particular fire escape looks good enough here that if we just do this, this, and this, it's gonna be a lot cheaper, I'm gonna try and bounce that off of Gear Development Services and say, we wanna do this in lieu of the load test. If they say yes, you're home free. If they say, oh, you gotta take that through a building code appeal, which is their normal response, you end up spending, what is it now, Jim, $300 to file a
It's
bill?
almost 400, isn't it,
For
They may have jacked it again, I don't know. Last time I checked, it was 300. Their prices go up, ours stay down, we don't know what the deal is with that. You know. But that's a route that they entertain. Likewise, these smaller wooden structures that have a little balcony for the 3rd-story apartment, and it's got a balcony that's almost big enough for 2 of us to stand on without turnout. Those are anchored into wood. Do you really want to throw 200 pounds per square foot on that thing? Probably not. Again, that's where the appeal comes in at BDS, and they're the ones who are supposedly accepting those appeals, and, yeah. It's another
So
issue.
if I may, and it's exactly this, I'm gonna show you what the rest of the country's doing, and I'm also gonna tell you, this is back to you. Has some fire escapes through our group in the past been certified without a load test?
Yes.
Got it? So I'm gonna give you the information so that everybody gets the same rights. And by the way, did I back it up with a code? Or did I say, please accept it? Or did I back it up with code? Because the code says that it was allowed.
Yep.
So just so you know, when we started building this over 10 years ago, nobody wanted to do anything. They weren't even load testing back then. They were stealing things from Seattle, which I set up the Seattle program that they copied. And now we've made the program down here better than the Seattle copy because they did once and then they stopped. I haven't been back to Seattle since. They have the #1 program here. Understand? So we're gonna show you that the options are there. The code supports it. A lot of times it's just somebody hearing it because nobody wants to allow you to do something based on an opinion. If it's written in the code that there's an either or, and if I show you either or, then they have to accept it. So a lot of times if there's lack of knowledge, they only do it one way. But as soon as you say the code says either or, guess what? And so the burden is on you to prove to them that there's other evidence of strength. I do it all over the country, guys. I've been at this since '71, since my dad hijacked me into the business. He's still in business today, and I'm on the fire escapes. You know how many load tests I've done in the whole, since '71? 6. Do I want to do more? Sure. As a matter of fact, go on a website called loadtest.com. I got videos of us carrying sandbags and doing cable and load, it's all there. Go check it out. But it's not where the main activity is. Load testing is not a refurbishment and other evidence of strength. That's what should have happened here. So let me tell you why evidence of strength is important, and then we're going to continue with this. Do you believe that every structure here that's 50 years old, 75 years old, has gone through, every 25 to 35 years, has it gone through a full refurbishment of their windows, of their electric, of their plumbing, of their roof, of their heating system, of the outside shingles or painting? Have they?
No.
That's the average cycle of somebody doing something inside a structure. You know what never got one of those cycles? The fire escape. You know what it got? Paint, if there was any left over. So some of these fire escapes in the rest of the country go through a natural cycle of every 25 to 35 years. They take out all the bolts and put in all new bolts. Guess what you get? That's a brand new line in the sand. You've met other evidence of strength. And as long as you keep it maintained and painted, the rest of the country says, you've put off load testing for the next 15 to 25 years as long as you keep maintaining the fire escape. And yes, we're going to connect it into the building. So, somebody said, I got a problem with the connection into the building. So, do we believe that we can basically guarantee to a city official that the fire escape, the exterior, you know, the connection. So I got a stringer, I got a tread, right? And I got a bolt. As soon as I change that bolt, and there's no internal rust, not surface rust, no internal rust, right? If there is original bolt, do I need to load test this tread for you?
Original bolt?
Original bolt.
Yes.
I take that tread out, I fully remove the tread. I clean both sides, I prime it, I inject silicone, which is, in some states, it's not even required to put silicone. But you have it on your, you want some sealant, right? Okay, so I'm going to inject some silicone in here, right? I got a brand new bolt. You still want me to load test this, or can I give you other evidence of strength on this tread here? He has to ask his boss. That's how he's doing it from now on. I ask difficult questions. He has to ask his boss using secret code.
No, it dinged me. I have no idea why.
So if I change the bolt, do I need to load test this connection for you?
No.
Nope.
Can I provide you with photo, video, or even just proof? Have I checked it's called other evidence of strength? Right?
Documentation of what you did.
Right, documentation, photographs, video. You're gonna walk it through with me anyway, because you need to do a final. So this is representation. So 95% of every fire escape, I can physically look at it with my eye. I can prove that there's no rust jacking, internal rust jacking. Any material that's deteriorated, I've sistered or replaced. Do I need to load test it? Now we have another part. 95% of the fire escape is outside, but now we've got this crazy wall, and I've got this piece of cement, of steel sticking into it, right? And I've got that cement pocket in here, and right below that one is another one where, it's this piece, and again, we're going to cover this in drawings later, and it has this crazy through bolt that comes over here, and it has this plate on the inside, and then it has the inside. Got it? That's the guy I want. And I got a 100-year-old building that's got the veneer, and everybody thinks that the veneer is the structure. What's the veneer? All veneer is vinyl siding to the building. You know where the tie is? It's over here. Right? But now this 100-year-old building, you start screwing around with these bricks, what happens? They fall out. And then I got to put them back. So in conversations with the fire department and the building department, I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to let sleeping dogs lie. That's what we do in the rest of the country when the building's a piece of crap. You know what we do? We come over here, we put, let me get a 4x4 piece of angle. I'm going to make a mechanical connection here. I'm going to jam another, and again, 4 to 6 inches away from the original connection, so not right on top of the same connection, And basically what I do is I put in an epoxy bolt, Hilti, bring you all the spec sheets you want, and I bury this thing, because all of them are buried only 8 to 12 inches deep, guys. That's all it is. And I duplicate the connection, okay? And that's on just one. If I do every single one, I duplicate the connection because I can't get inside, I can't see it, it's 100 years old, it's 18 inches thick. And I walk up to him and I give him the information, I say, hey, here's all my data sheets on these Hiltis, right? And I say, after I do this support, do you want me to load test it? I fix the original, so that stays, and it's solid.
Nope, we're good with that.
So evidence.
I'm providing other evidence. So, and I make sure, because I don't make a move, because I don't want, the last thing I want is at the end, having my client have to pay for a load test, because right in the code it says, the authority having jurisdiction shall accept by load test or other evidence of strength, or a fire escape affidavit. That's NFPA. NFPA, yes. I gotta know your name, because you're the only one putting your hand up. What's your name?
Danya, my name's Danya.
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 I understand what you're saying on that, but with our 200 pounds capacity,
Highest in the country.
it's difficult to confirm that that will hold the
Who
strength.
says?
That's where the argument, and
An
it's
engineer
using
will
me
tell you.
as the authority having jurisdiction, when in reality, it's the BDS engineers. You guys are gonna be selling this to the engineers
Well, we
down
have a problem
there.
right now with the same situation, and the problem, but we don't know if we're gonna try it, but we can't, we have to still load test, because we can't tell you that that brack and that mortar is gonna hold
It
a
had to
200 pound pressure.
Evidence of the design, and it's probably gonna need to be permitted by BDS and inspected and all that kind of documentation.
Up
Before
in
you could
Seattle,
accept that
they have a hole
visually-
inspector. You just can't drill a hole. You have to have a hole inspector come out and make sure that the hole is clean before you put an epoxy bolt in there. And by the way, in case you have a problem with that, then just take the, instead of doing an epoxy bolt, ram it all the way through, put a plate on the inside.
Well,
If you can get to it.
Yeah.
No, we know, we know.
That's the other thing. And actually, one of the other twists that Cisco hadn't hit on yet, that one of your old stories, was one of the very interesting buildings. They had done a complete refurb on the fire escape, absolutely great, but the engineer that was working with them said, you know what, I don't really like those connections that I'm seeing that are being supports on there. Let's open one up and take a look. And they found out that they had this lovely veneer brick coming down here and the gap behind it. And this was the actual
Structural break.
structural wall.
Yeah, but they're never structured.
Water had gotten in here and rotted off every single one of the supports. So you gotta know what the wall is
Correct.
in order to sell our friends at BDS on what it is you want to
Well,
do.
you
how
have to
wanna
see
do
it, I mean, you have.
Yeah, so you're probably gonna have to open up at least one
Right,
hole,
you have to get your hand in there to see what's going on.
see how many bats fly out.
Or you can load test it, you know, you can engineer it or load test it.
May I ask the pointed question, if you've ever done a prescribed method of repair, and just for belt and suspenders sake, done a load test after that to, as, you know, back up to the prescribed theory of repair? Have you done that in some cases
Yes.
ever?
Yeah, California did a
Has
10
there
story.
ever, has there ever been a failure after that?
Never,
Okay.
ever. And by the way, if they make me build a new one, let me ask this question. If I build a brand new fire escape today for your city, do I
That's
have to
painful.
build it to the 100 pounds per square foot, which is the national code, or do I build it to 200 pounds per square foot?
That's a good question, I have to check with our friends at BDS.
So there you go, it's the catch-22. Guys,
Well, see, I'm fast.
does the bumblebee fly? Does a bumblebee fly?
Until it eats too much poison, yes.
The bumblebee flies, you know who says it doesn't fly? Engineers.
Oh, is that?
Engineers can prove to you that a bumblebee can't fly, on paper. So guys, if I'm building a new one, this is all I need. This is duplication, we're already, by the way, with the original in good order, you're not removing the original one, it stays. So there's 100%. You're putting in a new one, it's 100%. This becomes the master, that becomes the slave to the situation. So it's called other evidence of strength. So you can duplicate in lieu of, you can never stop the repair. You can't leave a blown hole in the wall. You gotta close that up. And as you guys know, in a lot of your structures here, you know, it's actually a 1.5 that comes through, that becomes round, you know, it comes down to a round, comes through, hammered, you know, this is all, it's one side, it's 1.5 inch solid, then it becomes round, and then they thread it, and they put a nut on the inside on a plate. It's a one-piece system. In order for this thing to fall down, the wall has to fall. If you load test a fire escape and the wall collapses, did the fire escape collapse or the wall failed? No. The fire escape brings down the wall. What failed? The fire escape or the wall? The wall failed. Now, if the thing shears over here, what failed? The fire escape failed. But if all of a sudden you get to a place where there's dead people on the ground, and there's a fire escape on the ground, and it has pieces of the building still attached to it, what do you say? When they're like, oh my God, you suck as a fire escape person, what do you say?
Effective structure.
It ain't me, I'm all set, I gotta go. Somebody bury this dead person.
But you
Because
wouldn't know
what happened?
that unless you load tested it.
Huh?
You wouldn't know that unless you load tested it.
No, when there's but again, now, like he says, if there's gonna be a fine line where you're worried about a fire escape wall, then have that wall has nothing to do with my fire escape test because it's an independent test of my fire escape. So somebody says, we're going for other evidence of strength. So you and all the city says, well, give me a sampling of the wall so I can say that the wall is gonna be of this 100-year-old building. So it may be a two-part piece. To get other evidence of strength, you gotta do a sample on that wall and tell me how great that wall is. Great.
Well, you're still testing. You're still
Right, testing the wall. Then there's no testing on the fire
Testing
escape.
system that includes the fire escape and the wall and a connection.
Like I said, Portland has its own way, 200 times everything, but you can't. The rest of the country does not do that. No one does that. But again, the law says other evidence of strength. So I will come in and I would fight that. I would come in and say, hey, we're doing this fire escape, here's my client, and he's not gonna spend this much, he's gonna spend this much, and I gotta do other evidence of strength. Oh, you gotta speak with the building, I'll speak with the building.
You would have tested.
No, I'm just saying, I have the right to say, here's the law. It doesn't mean I'm gonna win, but I have the right to sit there and appeal it, and I have, and I've always won. I have never lost other evidence of strength, ever. It's not that I'm saying that I'm right and there's not gonna be some quirky, listen, if there's an act of God out there that's gonna put a fire escape on the ground,
Well,
it's not because,
we do get failures when a fire escape connection does look sound. We still get failure.
yeah.
So just know that. One test is worth 1,000 expert witnesses.
I know. But like anything else, there's to me, the way I look at it, the amount of activity that's out there that we have, I don't have any failures during all of the load testing that I've done. And I've also had no failures on all the other people that I've seen do load testing in the area. As long as the fire escape is fully refurbished or it's a sound fire escape, not fully, it can be spot repaired, I haven't had anybody come back. The main concern seems to be walls. Question?
Obviously, then the criteria you're talking in other states is different than what's required here then. As
The
far as
criteria we use to build it is the criteria we use to inspect it. And the code says either or. And just so you know, prior to this, for 50 to 75 years, they weren't using load testing or other evidence of strength. They were using your eyeball. And you guys, not you guys, but most engineering and architectural firms use the golden parachute that says, to the best of my information, knowledge, and belief, the fire escape is in conformity with the local code and ready for its intended use, which meant what? So that's not even in the code. You can't even use opinion, but yet people use this third. So I'm just telling you guys, you can go to either extreme. I'm telling you that there's only two options, but there's been really three, and they've been using the opinion as the most common one for 50 to 75 years.
And this is, I'm going to interrupt you for a second, because this is a pretty good segue point for this little tidbit of information. Historically, City of Portland, we actually had a rather obese member of our office. Charlie was about 300 pounds. He would go out on the fire escape balcony and jump up and down. That was our original fire escape test. When I came into the office years ago, they handed me a 16-ounce claw hammer and sent me over to the Weatherly building. Scared the hell out of me. I started at the top, I came down. I had 3 steps in a row go out from under me. I was 7 stories up when that happened. We progressed from there to a 24-ounce ball-peen hammer, which could not be dropped as easily as the wonderful 16-ounce ball-peen hammer if you put it on yourself correctly, so that when you did lose your grip, it was still with you. It might pull you off over the side, but by God, you had it. We actually started out with a wooden handle, and we went to this one because it lasted a whole lot longer than the wood handles did. That was the last of us doing it before we went into the process where my bosses decided it was much too dangerous for us to be out there for free, beating on the fire escape for the tenant or the occupant. Yeah, that's there. We don't do that anymore now. You guys get the tag for that. And as you can tell, one of the industry standards is now slightly heavier head, shorter handle. I got a much better swing and impact out of that one. But part of what we were doing when we were beating on the fire escape, in particular on the treads, If you heard anything off of a good clear ring, you hit it again, and again, and again, until you finally broke that rivet out the rest of the way, because it was a rotten rivet, and it just wasn't ringing true. So if you're doing that, when you guys are working on it, that's still a technique, a tactic that you guys can use. We've just been ordered not to do that anymore. And so now we're looking at it, we're using a lot of the pointers that Cisco's talking about. Jay, you've helped me with some of this stuff, and if we ever get that engineer's checklist put together, it's together, but the bosses don't want to approve it. It's actually very similar to what Cisco has on his form for things to look for. What are you guys looking for when you're what are we looking for when we're going out and looking at it? We're looking up and going, well, that looks like a pile of crap. If it does, fix it. Have a nice day. It's time to test and repair it. That's what we're supposed to do now. But even with that information in place that way, we've had inspectors step out less than an hour after talking with me and being told, look at it. If it looks bad, don't go on it. If you step out on it and it looks worse, get back inside, don't be on it. So all you need to do is know it sucks. If it looks like it sucks, that's good enough. Yet that fire inspector lost 2 treads underneath him after being told not to. So,
with that being the case, let me expand upon that. So inspectors are all visual. As soon as you see that the fire escape is suspect in any way, so it's all you're looking for must be structurally sound, must be kept painted. You can see that from the ground, and you can see that by opening up a window, opening up a door. Do not get on it. So like you said, ping pong, right? When it pings, it should be good, right? But I've seen connections that have rust in it that still give you the ping. But the way to understand what these hammers are as an inspector, I want you to take some fire escape tread out there, and I want you to say that the left side has got 1/2 inch or 1/4 inch of rust in it, and the other side is super tight. I want you to break this side, so it's going to should give you a pong on this side and a ping on this side. Is this a load test? No. This is a safety test for the safety of the inspector, and you should never be on it. You don't just throw away those hammers, because that's who's ever getting paid to walk the fire escape to determine whether or not he can even walk it.
That's my museum piece.
Okay, museum piece. So now when you walk up, you ping, and I'm going to show you a picture of what happens when you don't pay attention and what happens. It's not only what the tread does, but where the tread goes, because some of these treads fall and they start pinging through windshields and through cars, and they can hurt somebody down below. So when you ping pong, but here's the main thing I want you to do. Anybody who's an inspector, and I'll show you what you should have in a standard inspection bag, and there's more things. I want you to break one tread, because a lot of them will just break. As soon as the shaft is all rusted out, and there's rust jacking, the rust jacking has already stretched the bolt for you, so it's already soft. The rust that's in there's already eaten the bolt, so a lot of times I bring bolts with me that are look like pencils, they come down to a point. And when you hit this will break. Now I want you in the same inspection as an inspector, I want you to take a tread that's in very good order and it pings, and I want you to shear that bolt. I want you to shear the typical size of the shaft on every tread in the US is 3/8. And I want you to take this piece, and I want you to shear that bolt with all the might you have. You are going to hurt your wrist. You're going to just keep going, just pound and hit. I want you to break both, not one. I want you to see the amount of ridiculous force you're going to need to shear a good 3/8 shaft. Shear. You're going to shear this. Just go crazy on that tread. Break it. That way you know the extreme of a good one. Because every now and then, clients will tell you, you're breaking my fire escape. And you need to tell the client, really, you think I'm breaking your fire escape because I tapped a couple of treads, right or left, and they fell down, that I'm going to hurt or kill your tenants or the firemen. And you go like this to the owner. You say, take this hammer, break that good tread right there, and if you do, I'll give you a free inspection. And that owner is going to take this, he's going to start, winding up, and he's going to do, but you've already done this before, because you're going to see him pounding the crap out of it, and it's not going to shear. But you'll shear it because you're going to go crazy on it. Just keep going and see what it looks like to shear a brand new 3/8 bolt, and sometimes shearing an old 3/8 bolt, that square head, or a rivet. Rivet's even worse. They're like tempered. Shear a rivet with this thing. Pound to your heart's content. But every now and then you go, you by mistake, you let the hammer drop on a tread, and the tread starts going south. Yeah, guess what? So you have to know both extremes. So the pong. So when you go up a fire escape inspection, we have to walk, we ping. Right on the front nose, you ping, 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 pong. Pong, 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 pong. Break it, wrap it so people are
Climb over it.
Yeah, climb over it,
Step on it.
you know, put something on it to identify it, got it? So that's what's important. And and now you've identified a fire escape that has some issues. And this ping pong can be done to railings, but primarily it's done to the treads, because that's what you got. But sometimes going up the staircase, both the upper stringer clips and the lower stringer clips are all blown out. Sometimes you don't even walk this thing. Got it? But that's not inspected. Inspectors from the ground and opening up a door using your eyes, all you need is to be suspect. Must be structurally sound, must be kept painted. If you see a rusty fire escape, you don't even need to write anything else. Just say fire escape has not been maintained, which is a code. Okay, so who else can inspect fire escapes? Fire escape inspectors. Let's look at the codes. This is other evidence of strength. So the code says must be examined and or tested. This is the fire code. Examined and or tested. So everybody in the past just examined, signed something, gave it to him, and or tested. What's tested mean? I don't know. It kind of. So all of a sudden, the International Fire Code says, fire escape systems found in a state of deterioration or unsafe shall be repaired immediately. Depending upon the structural condition, a load test shall be conducted. This is New Jersey's code, fire code. So depending on the structural condition, so is it me, the inspector, or you, the official that decides whether it's going to get load tested?
Yes.
Me or you?
You could, but you're gonna have to sell your client on that. I'm gonna tell you to.
So depending on the structural condition, a load test shall be conducted. You know who's going to force that on me? If I don't make him happy that the work is done, he's going to force. He has the load test. Now, as a firm, can I want to do a load test? Yeah, I can load test. But if I say, I'm not load testing, I'm just going to kind of fix it. He may say, oh, I want a load test. Now, can also a building official step in, even though he says, I don't want a load test, can a building official step in and say, I want a load test? So there's two people I have to convince that the load test is not going to be required. Let's take a look at the NFPA. The NFPA hasn't changed this. This is Life Safety Code 101. The authority having jurisdiction, here you, but now you're saying the building's going to weigh in. Guess what? Two authorities having jurisdiction shall be permitted to approve any existing fire escape stair that has been shown by load test or other satisfactory evidence to have adequate strength. Which means what? There's an either or in 49 states. We've used either or here before things started going in one way or the other. That doesn't matter. I'll fight for it every day. Come and tell me no and tell me why and show me the code where it says, because I got an either or. And I think I have satisfied, and here's my structural engineer stamp on it saying it's okay, because that's what they want. God forbid you're an inspector of some kind, because, two people saying so, you can say, where's the stamp? And if all of a sudden you got a stamp, you're a little bit more comfortable with a stamp on it?
Oh, always.
So other evidence of strength usually comes with a stamp. So the city official approves it, the building official approves it, and even the engineer is now putting his signature on it saying, I approve it. 3 people are okay with other evidence of strength. International Fire Code, the building, the piece is too small, my thumb's too
The
big.
IBC says the same thing as the IBC. So.
Yeah, it says the fire escape shall be examined and or tested. There it is. Oh. Oh, man. All right.
I got a train one that does that too.
Technical assistance. What's technical assistance mean? When do you guys call it technical assistance?
When it's too deep for us to dig into and we don't have the resources, we can have you go find somebody who has that knowledge and capability.
It's also made for new technology. What's that mean to you?
Oh, alternate means and methods is a wonderful thing.
So this exists. Is it brand new or has it been around? It's in every code.
For forever.
It's on there forever. What that means is that if all of a sudden we get into, solar panels, windmills, Tesla radio towers, so everybody gets free, remember that stuff that Tesla made that nobody's used yet, but free electrical. When that comes out, guess who he has to call on if there's some sort of a testing or examination that needs to be done? He has to call this guy. Until such time that there's plenty of these guys around where he doesn't have to use this piece. So let's see what it says. It says, to determine the acceptability of technologies, process, products, facilities, materials, and uses intended to design, operation, or use of a building or premises, subject to an inspection by the fire code official. The fire code official is authorized to require the owner agent to provide, without charge to the jurisdiction, a technical opinion and report. The opinion and report shall be prepared by a qualified engineer, specialist, laboratory, or fire safety specialty organization, acceptable to the fire code official, who shall analyze the fire safety properties of the design, operation, or use of that building or premises and the facilities and the appurtenances. You know what appurtenance is? Piece of the building, which is a fire escape. So all exterior steel, wooden stairs, bridges, balconies are called appurtenances. If they're subject to the weather, do they have to be maintained? That's what the code says. So the fire escape is just the tip of the iceberg. You got a bunch of other stuff there that's going to stop falling and hitting people on the head, including flagpoles, signs on the rooftops, you know, that the wind is getting to. And they're to recommend necessary changes. The fire code official is authorized to require design submittals to be prepared by and bear the stamp of a registered professional. Meaning, even at the end of this expert doing whatever he's doing, to appease the people above him, what's he going to say? He's going to ask for a peer review of who? A design professional to come in and say, dude, I don't even know what I'm stamping, but you made it sound good, so. Because a lot of times, some technology is in advance of somebody in the general area even knowing what's going on. Okay? By the way, is that another? The code is very simple. Design fire escapes shall be inspected by a design professional or others acceptable to the city official. Did that explain others to you? What's other mean? Did that explain other to you?
Just
An other.
That one was cloudier than the ones we discussed earlier.
So the codes are, IFC, the IBC says, you must have the fire escape examined by a design professional, structural engineer, civil engineer, registered architect. Yeah, now you have, the architects kind of fall here, but every now and then will an architect fall into another? Somebody who has a specialty, somebody's a specialist, right, testing it. So an other, that describes another. That's what New Jersey, which out of all the classes I've ever done in the United States, 2 states that I do a lot of classes here, and the state of New Jersey. That's the other. That's what they put out to identify what is another. But who gets the final say? And even on another, what does the technical say at the very bottom that he can ask for the other to do? Provide a peer review and a stamp. So an other can be qualified by the city official once they've presented information to say, please consider me another. Got it? So in the United States, let's talk about others. How many engineers and registered architects in the United States? Does anybody know of any fire escape licenses out there? Let's get into others. There is one in California, Reg 4, down in LA. There's one in Boston, right? 2 licenses in the whole country. And sometimes these licenses will cross a state line. But my Boston license, I have inspected 375 fire escapes for Harvard for over 25 years. You don't think they have enough architects and engineers to stamp things? They've never stamped any of my documents ever. In California, I had a bridge engineer who inspected bridges for the state of California, who couldn't sign off on fire escapes because he didn't have a Reg 4. And a Reg 4 is a fire escape assemblies tester, right? And he's a registered structural engineer for the state of California. He had to go get a Reg 4 license, which is, by the way, if you ever want to copy a great system, a fire, because it's the fire prevention there, or what they call fire prevention there, and everything that's fire prevention must go through a licensing process. First of all, you start by introducing yourself with a $1,000 check. You start with 100 questions that it's related to your field, and you got to get an 80. You got to meet the fire marshal and say, hi, do you have any questions for me? He's going to give you an oral test right there. You have to have 3 years of apprenticeship and work for a company in order to get this license. And then they're gonna take you out to the field and do a fire escape examination in front of them. And then you gotta fill out the paperwork correctly, because if you don't fill out the paperwork correctly, guess what they don't give you? And then every 3 years, they ask you for another meet and greet for you to hand them over what? Another complimentary, thanks for letting me hang in your club, membership fee of $1,000. And that's for every sprinkler, alarm company in all of California. Great income generator, so it's called Reg 4. So go online, Reg 4, and you know what they have there? They have a ton of confidence tests for everything. So they have every confidence test there. For alarms, you know, basically a checklist of what you should be looking for. And they have a standard form that you gotta fill out. Did they ever have a fire escape confidence test in there? No. Probably not. I introduced the confidence test, and then the confidence test, and introduced it like, whatever, yeah. Just recently, a checklist appeared. I'm like, do you think they sent me a, hey, thanks for the info, shout out?
Well, that's right.
Yeah, it's confidence.
It's gotta be approved by fire.
It's gotta be approved. All right, guys. Is everybody clear? Whether you agree to it or not, this official, the LA official, the Minneapolis official, the Utah official, the New York official, they have the final say on what an other is. Do you understand? So it's clearly stated what an other is, the documents and the codes. It's up to you as an other. So if an architect comes in here and he's a landscape architect, he's a design architect, you know, interiors only kind of thing, and all of a sudden he wants to sign off for his buddy, he wants to sign off on a fire escape, can you accept or deny that, that document?
No, I don't put on BDS, but yeah.
But others acceptable to you. So even an engineer who comes in, who's never had anything to do with fire escapes, can you question his validity? It says right on the code, all design professional or others acceptable to the building official. So the building official still needs to accept everybody that shows up, because he's got tenants on his mind and he's got firemen on his mind, and he's not about to play the game of letting a Russian roulette be the cause, right? So this fire escape, pass or fail? All right, so this fire escape actually got called because somebody fell through the fire escape trying to break into the building. The fire department, police department called the fire department, and the owner got a report from an structural engineer, got a pass-fail report, and then how did I get there? The secretary calls me and says, I don't think this was properly inspected. The secretary said that she got this document, and this is me after the fact doing my examination, doing a hammer test. And this is what the document came out. It said, fix these 4 things. And then, to the best of my information, knowledge and belief, you know, the golden parachute, fix these 4 things and I'll sign off on it. When I got there, this is what I found. The fire escape was condemned. Okay? There's another fire escape in Chicago, 150 units. And it said, come and fix a couple of bolts, paint the thing, we're good to sign off on it. It was like 20 of these fire escapes. So I said, you don't mind if I just show them to paint it, can I just take a walk through? And I grabbed a few photographs, and I'll show you that in a second, what the photographs look like. This is the detention center for juveniles. So I walk over there, and when you first get to it, how's it looking? Good?
No.
As soon as it needs a paint job. Most people say, I just need a price for a paint job, right? You walk up to these things, they say, hey, you know what I need? I already got the wood stock, I already got me a paint job price. So how much for you to paint it? I'm like, well, can I just look underneath a little bit? So when I looked underneath, this is what I found. So until you get underneath, you really don't know what's going on, right? So this fire escape here, right? The ping pong test. Safety for the inspector. Not, you guys will never ping pong, you'll never get on fire escapes again. From the ground and from below, and from a window, must be structurally sound, must be kept painted, and opinion is all you need to write a violation. Inspectors, this is what you gotta worry about.
highlighted in red to say that this is an emergency, life-threatening issue that UM needs to take care of.
Is it? Think that's dangerous? Got it, guys? An inspector puts their life at risk all the time when they're just like, oh, let me look for fire escape. An inspector walks with his hammer and he has to tie it off. And when he pounds, he has to make sure nobody's below, because these things sometimes drop just one side. Sometimes they drop completely out of cast iron. When cast iron is the worst one. They have these microscopic cracks. And I was doing the cast iron 10-story, and I went bang, bang, bong. The thing split like this, fell down 5 stories into a parking lot. I'm like, holy bananas.
Yeah, and it's amazing how much loose stuff is on there. You may be up 4th, 5th story, and garbage on the 2nd and 3rd is actually rattling off and falling. So we've only hit a few cars.
So guys, that fire escape in Chicago, I was pulling bolts off with my fingers. This is 1 inch worth of rust jacking, and this is the reverse. This was a reverse cantilevered system, where you had a system coming out here, and it had a reverse thing with a nut down here. Look at the shaft, all eaten through. And I call the manager guy, are you aware that this thing is, and I sent him the pictures. Guess what they did? Absolutely. Who painted it? The witch doctors. I called the city of Chicago on this. Guess what happened? Nothing, because they painted it.
So did you want to take a break?
I'm sorry? Someone should have rang a bell. Break, coffee, donuts, all the donuts you're not supposed to eat in the back, guys. It's all the rich or bad donuts.
Purely healthy, sort of.
And if anybody has any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer any questions for you while we're sort of kicking around some coffee. Don't forget to sign in if you're getting credits of any kind.
So, Teddy broke out.
Yeah, I turned the phone off.
Aaron? It is. And you are?
Let's, I'm gonna keep it going. I know we have about an hour before we take our break. So let me move this quickly, and I'm gonna go right into the confidence test.
What am I gonna have?
So, here's the repair that needs to be done.
I can only have
And
one.
Stu, you're gonna love this one. Because at the end of today, we're gonna go to the tower and inspect the tower down in Portland, which we've looked at before.
There, you can have that.
And we're actually gonna do a one-on-one with Stu on his tower. These towers are all over the US, and I inspect these all the time. Okay? And so, the best thing that we can do on these towers is actually train. So I'm gonna have Stu with me later on today, and I'm gonna go have him inspect this tower as if he was an inspector. You know what I'm saying? So that way he can share that with you guys, what visually he's looking for, so that you can determine that the fire escape visually has structural issues or paint issues. And again, we're gonna do it from inside the tower, looking out only, and use his eyeballs to see, can you see enough of an issue there that needs you to write a violation on this. Got it? So let's move on. So this fire escape, as you can see, I tested it one day. See the fallen treads? That was after I examined the fire escape. Prior to that, they were using it every day for training. Prior to that, see, this is inside. You guys have a wood one down there. But a lot of them have iron ones inside because they burn hay, they burn all kinds of things. Anybody see any rust jacking there? All right. So after my examination, anybody see any rust jacking in the clip? All right. So when I did my hammer test for safety, all of these things start falling apart. So we're going to examine that other tower later on. Okay. And this, they shut it down the day after. The day of, the day after. Guys, this is what you're facing with when you go out there. You got supports, you got rust jacking. Surface rust is not your biggest enemy. Aside from the EPA lead law requirements that you have to have a renovator's license, that's easy. It's the internal rust. It's identifying what is an internal rust connection, why it's become suspect, and now you got to open up that connection, and you got to clean it out, you got to remove, And you gotta do this while the fire escape is still up in the air. So a lot of times, connections are one at a time. You do not take a whole fire escape apart, because it'll destabilize and it could come down on you. So we fix railings one bolt at a time, one tread at a time, one support at a time, because it's really relying on multiple connections from keeping it from falling. So there's thousands of connections on a fire escape keeping you from falling. You can have a bolt failure and that fire escape will still perform. Got it? Because it's really interlocked. By the way, this is on a veterans home up in Boston. So if the war didn't get you, this is people doing nasty things to fire escapes. Trucks, trash trucks, cement trucks, right? They just rip them out of the buildings. Hammer testing, non-hammer testing, right? This is the city hall. Does anybody notice any problems with the city hall? And I hope that goes to the mayor's office. Guys, the biggest issue with a lot of fire escapes is what's inside.
Yes.
All right, so this is a 20-story building that we were looking at in Chicago, and everything went on the opinion affidavit. We started doing some sampling throughout the 20 stories. What did we find? Okay, so now, a lot of times it's not that bad, but like you said, this occurred because of this. This occurred in Philadelphia. Remember that guy that died? Same thing occurred. Water got in between here. The bolt that was here rotted out this bolt. So even though you had a plate, right, and you had the support out here, as soon as water gets in here and rots these out, these things are going to pull off the building. So a lot of times it's what's going in, but as soon as you get into a situation that you've identified that this connection has been compromised, first of all, you got to cure the problem. And you know what the problem is? Water. That has to be cured. And it's usually up on the roof. So this thing just opened up into an additional can of worms. We got to stop the water from getting down there. You can put the piece in, but you got to stop the water. It's only a matter of time before that water will start rusting out that new connection. But number two is, let sleeping dogs lie. Make a new connection. By the way, when you've got several brackets on a building, you can unify the connections. Instead of doing individuals, run a 3x3 angle all the way across. Make your connection to all the supports. So 10, 15 foot long piece of 3x3, 4x4 angle. And you put every 2 feet, or every 3 feet, it's depending on the structural engineer. What do you do? Epoxy bolt it. If you can, get inside, you through bolt it. Because what's the problem with the epoxy bolts? You need 2 to prove that one works. Because, if you don't properly install an epoxy bolt, but as soon as you unify the whole thing, what happens? What happens when you unify all the connections, and it's usually right there for you, you can easily get underneath 7 brackets and run one solid piece of steel. If you're doing an epoxy bolt or a through bolt every 2 or 3 feet all the way through, what has to happen for it to be a failure, a catastrophic failure? The whole thing has to come down at once. Because you have a failure on just one piece of it, what's it now relying on if you have what's called unification of the supports? Got it? So you can do individuals or you can unify. Got it? Other evidence of strength? Load test of the car? In lieu of load test, other evidence? NFPA? Okay. So guys, this is important because we obviously have a bigger issue here. So you can't just bury this. If this becomes evident, you're going to go to a new through bolt method. You don't have to tear the fire escape apart. You have to give it a new connection. But now you've got a problem. Your engineer now needs to go to that roof and find out where the water's coming in. And you know where it usually comes in? It comes in all the sills that have a support right there underneath the sill. The water's getting to that support. That support comes up and cracks your sill. Water's feeding through those sills every day. So this is not just a fire escape repair. There's a mason now involved and a roofer now involved, identifying where the water's coming in to this thing. And in some cases, I have water infiltration because right now, right here's a sill, right? And it snaps the sill. Water comes in here, feeds water to this every day. So you fix it, 5 years later, repair it. You fix it, 5 years later, repair it. Yes?
I have a question because.
Just one? That's
No,
already
I got
the
lots
question.
of them.
Everybody else is
One
quiet.
of the things that trying to sell to the owners and so forth and fire department and the marshal will have the same problem is, you know, fire escapes are an evil necessity of money fit.
No, I'll give you the correct term. They're called rusty. Oh, yeah, go ahead. One man's trash is another man's treasure. I understand. So,
Correct.
what is it?
So, you know, when we're.
It's your hard life, I understand. Go ahead.
When we're speaking, and especially with these owners and so forth, I've explained to them, okay, this is gonna be a cost-effective situation. And then when you give them just the basics of the cost of your engineering repairs and testing, they're already choking. And then you start getting involved in repairs, and then it's, you know, they're about ready to throw their hands up and just be like, I guess we'll just have to wait to see, because at a point we've already spent this enormous amount of money. And, you know, how have you approached it with these people and trying to?
Yeah.
How do you sell
never.
How do you sell Eskimos ice cubes is really the question.
Yes.
I tell them one wrongful death lawsuit.
Mm-hmm.
Our whole industry is reactionary. Do you want to be that person?
Right.
And all the other owners say, well, that's why I have insurance for the slip and fall problems too.
If you're comfortable.
Honestly, a majority of the owners we're dealing with in this town are multifamily structures. Some is commercial, obviously the downtown core, but, you know, in my opinion, a large part of it is, you know, apartment type structures, because that's what they were originally built as.
I was just curious of your.
It is a challenge in a lot of cases to deal with owners of that mindset who are landlords of some A properties and some not so A class properties, shall we say.
Because when you look at this, if you were to go into this fix, it'd be a $50,000 fix. And homeowner, you know, and I'm not saying good or bad or something, I'm just trying to say that when we're trying to approach in the fire, any of us as life safety people, of trying to explain to them, you better have $50,000 set up front, because this is, you know, your fire escape can cost you that much. It's hard to choke down.
Maybe we should bring a bunch of these videos that we've seen today and just have them on the phone and say, here's what can happen and what has happened.
It's been, that's actually the primary reason that our office is so far behind the curve in giving you guys more business. We actually implemented our policy years ago with the intent that by December 31st of 2013, every fire escape in this city would have gone through the testing process.
Right.
We didn't meet our end of it, and it got backed off, and we are still giving 5-year notification. If the fire escape looks appropriately, reasonably sound to my inspector who's out in the field looking at it, then they can give them a date 5 years out, if they have not been cited previously.
Okay.
We are that far behind, because as I recall, this is 2016.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, we're supposed to be, yeah. never
Oh,
mind.
wait, we're in another construction wave too, because you guys aren't looking at any new construction going on in town,
No,
right?
we ignore that, that's all Jim's shop.
I think in my opinion here, just with the changing of the industry in Portland again, with the all-time construction high, and 10,000 apartment units being built, I think it's at every level, you know. I mean, last time I went to BDS, there's 34 job openings if anyone wants to go work for the building department at Portland right now, listed online, 34 job openings. So as a result, in this town right now, it creates a higher level of difficulty, just like there's a new implemented procedure that there's a pre-issuance for permits, if you guys weren't aware of that on the BDS side. Some of you probably are. Customarily, review's done, fees are calced, you get an email, you go show up. Now they send you a notification that it's in pre-issuance, which is basically that the plans have been reviewed, but they're so backlogged on being able to calculate fees and process the permits. And I'm just speaking purely in reference to the fire escape repairs, not, you know, other regular building permits. It adds another layer of and/or time for it to be in that system. I would say on average, what have we gone from a standard 2 or 3 week review to well over a month?
2 months out.
for.
by the time you're done.
Yeah, for just a standard fire escape. You know, that's not a 12-story gig, that's the 4, you know, or 3 landing, so it,
Well, you know, we're with the government.
yeah.
Come on, Stu.
But it is, it's just kind of a,
Just joking.
you know, at least for us in this town, it's a little bit of a perfect storm right now that there just isn't enough manpower, from top down, bottom up, you know, to handle the workload that's out there.
The biggest consolation we've had with that uptick is that they've actually bulldozed a few of the buildings that had fire escapes.
That is true, so I guess if we just wait long enough that all the developers, anyway.
Thank you.
So fire escape load testing, it's on here, go to firescapeloadtest.com, show this to your client, right? And you go there and you can show them what load testing is involved, whether you're using sandbags, water bags, or cable. We have a little video that you can play, so this shows all the testing. But the key here is down towards the bottom. Like you said, we should just show these death videos to people. So on the bottom, on the bottom right side, these go to firescapelaw.com, right? And you want to show them this video. Okay, so again, people are getting sued, like you said, the building's getting locked up, so you got fire escape law. This is all fatalities on the left side, including all the things we already saw. But here's one of the newest, greatest one. Let's watch this one.
Some folks at an apartment house in New Jersey lucky to be alive tonight. The fire escapes that were supposed to be lifesavers nearly turned into death traps. The old and rusted sets, as you can see there, simply fell apart as folks climbed down, escaping a pre-dawn blaze. Jim Dolan at the scene in Jersey City with the latest for us. Jim?
Well, Larry, this fire started at 5 o'clock in the morning, so by the time people woke up, the hallways were filled with smoke, and many of them had to run down these rusty, rickety, narrow, and slippery fire escapes. Now, some of the fire escapes were just fine, but up on the 3rd floor, one guy went out onto that fire escape, and it nearly cost him his life. The choking smoke was building in JR's apartment, and the only way out was the fire escape. But that turned out to be just as dangerous as the smoke.
That's good. Right there, that's when the whole thing just gave way all to the bottom.
Take a look at the fire escape steps. After JR crashed through them early this morning, he had never even looked at them until he needed them. But one floor down, Vanessa Hancock had.
When I first moved into the apartment, that's the first thing I checked was the fire escape. And so we told the management about the fire escape because of the size of this. And somebody could get hurt, anything can happen. So we keep calling the management about the fire escape so nobody do anything.
So when she was awakened this morning by smoke and noise, she knew she never had a chance out there.
I knew not to even come this way. I already knew not to even come this way. So my option was either out the window or the front door.
Out the window.
It was just about that time that JR did head to what turned out to be a rickety, corroded, and dangerous fire escape. And it nearly cost him his life.
Gonna get free rent for a while though. He owns the building. His lawyers are working on that right now. And this building is in litigation as we speak.
Pretty sure I want to be stuck with that building.
It must have been so scary, firemen had to help him out. But take a look at what he would have gone through had he made it down to the 1st floor. He then would have had to walk down this long, rickety Holt ladder just to make it to safety. We called the company that runs this building. They did not get back to us. The Jersey City Police Fire Department says they inspect these and started inspecting them in 2013, but never got to this building.
And they're a model city, and that he did the same class to these guys here. So it's not, every building's not, but they have actually a program. They're one of the model cities out there that is actually doing something about it. All right, guys, write this page down. Fire Escape Services Network. And I'm going to show you how you get to the Portland website. So you get to, again, this is all free public information, right, that we created this website for that very reason. We ask you where you're from, they say, oh, because we're nationwide, you guys may or may not know this, and then we come here and say, where are you, Portland? So Portland, Oregon, you click on that, and what you have is, I'm working off my Wi-Fi here. We have Fire Escapes Portland, and it has all the same information on here, including your procedures and guidelines are on here. We go through all the codes right there. The steps that include coming back to the city official, please contact your local official to make sure everything you're seeing here is correct. Videos and examples. There's the fire escape law right there. You click on that, that's going to show you the death, the death videos. On the right, it's actually going to show you the load test videos in case you want to say, like, what the hell is this load test? So click on the right, it'll show sandbags being dragged around. At the very top, it'll also show you, when you click on here for seminars, you tell your clients, listen, if you don't believe us, look at all the seminars happening nationwide, and that is through the National Fire Escape Association, and this is some of the seminars on here, as you can see, and I believe we may have you guys on here as one of the videos. I believe one of these is the Portland. So when they click on it, say, wow, this is crazy, what are you making this stuff up? I said, we've been doing this for 10 years, but here's an actual Portland seminar, maybe in the same room, this is what they're cafeteria.
Cisco has been involved in fire escape.
This is the cafeteria.
Yeah, 20 to 30 years is my dad driving me into.
All right, so there's information out there to get everybody educated. Back to the question you had, how do you sell somebody a $50,000 problem? You said, listen, you have a roof on your house and you've been spending $5,000 or $25,000. $5,000 is a bucket of tar and a guy. And then finally these people get in and say, you know what, I will rubber roof the thing instead of the $5,000 hits every so many years, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Sprinkler systems. 30 years ago, you know how many buildings didn't have full sprinkler systems working? And they were fully occupied, and then it was a huge fight with getting the sprinkler. With enough lobbying and enough change, it finally changes. Alarms were not working. Extinguishers were all dead in every floor. Hoses were old hoses. And you know what happened? At the very beginning, when there was a change of nothing, doing nothing, finally, after enough fines and fees, everybody got on it, and you know what they made it part of the cost of doing business. So yes, an average 5-story fire escape can go anywhere from $25,000 to $75,000 K, with or without the engineer oversight. Typical pass-fails are $500 to $1,500 per pass-fail, $3,000 to $5,000 for EOs for residentials, and $5,000 to $8,000 for commercial. Standard, 5 no more than 10 stories. Anybody want to modify these prices a little bit? Nationwide. But everybody wants sorry for the vulgarity here, sometimes you get the stamp whores, all right? Am I spelling whores correct? Stamp whores for $500. They'll stamp anything nationwide, not here, but there's some stamp whores out there. And there's also witch doctors that the main tool they bring to a repair is paint.
And a pack of cigarettes.
And a what?
And a pack of cigarettes.
And cigs, because you got to take your break.
Yeah.
Guys, I'll give you an example. Next week we got to go to, anybody here of Galesburg, Illinois? Yeah, I have a 5-story on a 5-story on a, what do you call it? A 5-story on a city building. They've been trying to get it fixed for 4 years, 5 years now. Couldn't get anybody to bid it. 5-story, standard 5-story. Same 5-story here. Am I off, guys? Plus, minus? What's the difference? Competition. Got it? So what's going to stabilize? We're going to go into the confidence test because we have to start talking about this confidence test. Because the confidence test is going to create stability in the marketplace. What it's also going to do is stabilize the costs so that it's not this and not this. It's going to people who do this on a regular basis are gonna start stabilizing their prices. Engineers will have competition, vendors are gonna have competition, painters are gonna have competition. And guess what happens when you have competition? Prices come down. When there is no competition, ooh, rusty go. Why? Because you've got the cure. If you got the cure, supply and demand. So just, you know, there is, what people were getting for 25 to 50 years was a stamp that cost them $500 to $1,000. You take it, you'd be done. Got it? Sadly, it's out there, guys. All right, so let's get the, so very quickly, and we need to get right on this conference desk. Ready? Guys, holes in the walls. This is that thing you talked about, water getting between the veneer and the structural. If you don't open these things up, sometimes this is exactly where failures are found. You've got this kind of thing, a load test will identify this. Or a pre-load test evaluation will identify that there needs further investigation before a load test. Because you have enough evidence, especially all that rust coming out of the wall, that you would never load test a fire escape, you can go further into investigation. It's called pre-load test evaluation. Got it? So when we get here, now we got the interior of a building, guys, right? So some of these come all the way through, and as you can see, pre-load test evaluation. You need to have the confidence of your engineer and your testing company that this thing is not going to hurt somebody, because you don't test things that are bad. Got it? Pre-drilling. This is in California. So we were verifying that these steel implements going in were in good order. What a pain, what a pain. Can't I just take that same 3/4 drill, right? Instead of verifying, this looks visually great to me, right? Can't I go 6 inches over there, create an angle clip that makes this a bolted connection, and use that same 3/4 and go through it and put an epoxy or a through bolt? I've duplicated the connection. I don't care about the first one anymore. The first one now is an add-on. I show you this building. If I say, hey, I'm showing you other evidence of strength. All the original ones are all packed and sealed and tight. What's their condition? I don't know. But I think they're good. But I put in another epoxy bolt with a through bolt on the back plate. Here's my engineer's stamp of what we did as an example. Other evidence of strength? Okay, let's keep on going. This is what it looks like on the inside. This is fire escape proctology. I got a hole, and I got to send a little probe down there, and guess what I get to see? This. Guess what I can see? Not much. So stop drilling these things. Just put a bolt next to it on every individual support, or unify the connections. Get underneath. Platforms are 4 feet across. Take a 5-foot piece of angle, stick it underneath, unify the two together, throw in 3, 4 epoxy bolts or 3, 4 through bolts. The original ones you gotta fix, you gotta pack, you gotta seal, and then when you do the through bolts, you document it, you write it up, and you send it to the fire department, you send it to the building department, and you're going after other evidence of strength. That's what it looks like down the fire escape proctology. Got it, guys? All right, here's what's happening on fire escapes. Well, this is on a school. I took a fire escape and I saved this piece. This is on an elementary school. Kids use this every day to go to recess. So what I did is I saved this fire escape and I shrunk it and I used it as a showpiece. I actually bring it to one of these classes. I bring the original fire escape I took out of a school, and I only had Christmas break to take it down and put up a brand new one. But what I did to it is I did everything wrong to it. There was already wrong things done to it. I did other wrong things to it. To use it as what you can and what you cannot do. See all this welding? This is what everybody does. I know a quick repair in the past would have been put a piece of, don't fix the bottom of it, put an angle on top, weld it and tack it, and these holes, just put a piece of plate over that, just, weld the nose only. So I started getting crazy on this thing to show you, what to do, what not to do. So, instead of changing the bolts, guys, just weld the nose. Witch doctor stuff. You bring feathers, you bring blood, and you dance around, have a lot of crazy music playing, right? And this is what's going to fix a fire escape. And you know what? $3,000. Remember the terrible threes on a fire escape? You get a bid, the owner gets a $3,000, $13,000, and $33,000. Guess who wins?
$3,000.
Got it? If there's no preload test evaluation form, if there is, he can't do it. We'll show you. We'll get on that right now. See? You guys got it? This is what it looks like. It used to be 4 feet across. I shrunk it. I bring this piece on shows all the time to show what kids were using to go to recess. By the way, older than 78 has lead. Any lead paint left on it. No, because the kids took it during recess, that was their snack, they all ate little chips of paint.
Oh,
Got it? So, and of course, they took it on their hands and they went like that, and they could put it in their eyes and put it in their mouth. By the way, this rusty stuff, you know what you get? Is it staph infection? Tetanus. One of my guys in Chicago, in Philadelphia, had a little cut. He got in, and Tom is all of 300-something pounds. Right? He had tetanus. He spent 3 months in the hospital. I said goodbye to him because he was going to die. They removed all kinds of infections and organs. He got tetanus through a rusty infection. So if you're doing fire escapes, go get a tetanus shot. My guy almost died. I say, hey dude, I got another fire escape in Philly. Goes, I ain't going nowhere near Philly. But this is not Philly. You have Boston with the same tetanus. Every rusty fire escape is like stepping on a rusty nail. When you're working it, you scrape yourself, guess what? Tetanus. I got a guy that I said goodbye to the guy. All of a sudden he comes out, he's 200 pounds lighter now, you know what I'm saying, because he lost a ton of weight, but for all the wrong reasons. And he's still recovering till today. He's not back full force yet. Still recovering, cannot get out of the house, is on the medication, under, hospice and under treatment. He's 57, 58 years old. So guys, that's the old one this is my Christmas break. And then I put a brand new one off to the side. But here's the funny thing about this. It took me longer to take this thing apart and save it in the as-is, because no, you get there, just cut, drop. I needed to save pieces and then use it as a showpiece. I actually spend more time taking it down and saving it in its garbage point than I should have. But it's a great piece because a lot of people can see it, touch it, collect tetanus. You know what I'm saying while you're here? So, OSHA, we're all cool on the lead-based paint thing? You need to have a renovator's license. So if you don't have one, it's an 8-hour course, $175 to $275. You start in the morning, at the end of the day, you already got your lead paint. You only need one guy on site to be dealing with the lead. Everybody else has to be told. You have to keep records. And you got to wear the white suit. And by the way, OSHA totally disagrees. They think that guy's going to be doing blood. So remember the difference between OSHA and EPA. Let them fight it out, but just send you $300 in because you have to register with the EPA, and if you get caught doing something wrong, they only have 4 inspectors in the whole country, it's a $37,500 fine per violation. Welding. You want to weld? Here's why you don't weld. This just happened last year.
They're working on the building's fire escape when they sparked the deadly fire. Fox Undercover revealed Wednesday that fire escape hadn't been inspected in 10 years, even though inspections are required every 5 years. Investigative reporter Mike Bodette digging up some new exclusive information tonight. Mike?
We looked at the entire Beacon Street block where the fatal fire happened and discovered, just like 296 Beacon Street, most of the fire escapes there are overdue for inspections. It turns out the city doesn't have any mechanism in place to track building owners violating the rules and hold them accountable. Mayor Walsh is not happy.
Are you concerned that inspection wasn't done since 2004? Of course I am, and it's something that, constantly every day seems like something new is coming up around inspection services, and we are looking at revamping a lot of the procedures in there.
We're looking to revamp.
Walsh talking about 296 Beacon Street, a place where welders may have been working on the fire escape.
This is the neighbor's house.
298 Beacon Street.
They're welding on this side.
Fire that killed Boston Fire Lieutenant Ed Walsh and firefighter Michael.
Burned down 5 stories, 60 mile-an-hour winds that day.
Had not been inspected since 2000.
So they're working on the left side.
The state building code requires.
And they caught the shed on fire on the other side, and they blew into the building and killed 2 firemen in the basement.
Inspected in 2009, and then again this year, which raises a troubling question according to fire code expert Amy.
So let's move on. You understand? Welding, you have to have a fire permit. Welding, if it needs to be examined, then it needs either a radiograph or a load test. But as soon as you put a bolt on a welded connection, what happens? Other evidence of strength? So I'm not x-raying that thing and I'm not load testing it, I'm going to bring other evidence of strength. So any welded connection that's in good order, not bad, that you blow a bolt to it, what are we testing? The weld now or the bolt? And if, 3 years from now, after we've given you other evidence of strength, the fire escape falls apart and hits the ground. And we get there, we do our fire escape CSI, we do our investigation and we find that bolt sheared. Who's everybody sue? Bolt manufacturer. Why? It was a product failure. Do they have insurance for that?
I hope so.
So the law says, load test it, no liability for anybody. Other evidence of strength, where's the liability gonna go to? Who's ever installing it to make sure that if they did it right, it goes to product. So if a through bolt that you put into the building shears and fails, what's the failure there? Product. Guys, this is exit routes 1910.37. Please note that down on your documents. That's an OSHA requirement that says during construction, repairs, or alterations, the fire escape is fixed last or first? Because you spark fires during renovation, right? So fire escape first or last?
Needs to be first.
First, right? And it says here that during repairs and alterations, employees must not occupy the workplace unless the exit routes required by the subpart are available and the existing fire protections are maintained, or until alternate fire protection is furnished that provides an equivalent level of safety. So, we're working on a building, I can't fix this fire escape, I can't do it for 2 months. Can I put up some scaffolding? All right, not construction scaffolding, I'm gonna put in full 3-foot 7-11 fire escapes. I mean,
First, you have to go get the sidewalk permit, that's most crucial.
so will it meet your requirement? Does it shut down that project once the scaffolding goes up?
It should.
Keep going, got it? So, once you've identified a bad fire escape, the construction can go forward, because as soon as the scaffolding's up, everybody's moving. You stop the money, heads are gonna roll. You don't stop the money, here's what it looks like, guys. Anybody know this building? Right down the street from you guys.
Right down the street.
Got it? And what's he got? He's got a full set of stairs, not construction stairs. These are full 3-foot 7-11 stairs to the ground. And he also has an elevator for who? For the workers, because they have an interior stair. And what is this stair? Is that a day-to-day stair, or is that an egress stair for the firemen to get in and the people to get out in case? So this is what OSHA wants you to do. They don't want you to stop the job, provide alternative means. So I'm showing up at your site because we're going to mothball the fire escape for 3 months. I got to block all the interior access to the fire escape. Satisfied? All the interior access to the old fire escape on this building is blocked off. Nobody can get to it. Is anyone satisfied?
With that?
With this up, yeah. By the way, on the outside fire escape that's rotten, I got all these markings on it with a big circle with you guys, with a big thing saying, don't ever get on it. Are you satisfied?
I could make a sandwich.
Okay, so now we've blocked off access to the fire escape. Firemen cannot get on this fire escape, and they have an alternative means of egress, and you get this during your pre-plans. What are you doing when you're doing pre-plans?
Entering them into the system so that we have them readily available in about 3 or 4 months.
And this is all in a...
Oh, I was having...
That's the inside voice.
And they're all synced into the guys' smartphones on site, right?
Load testing, sandbags, 50-pound sandbags. By the way, why did I do this? This is a Harvard building. You know what I did here? I fully refurbished the fire escape, and I load tested it for what reason? Well, prove that it works, but also to say, I need a load test in Boston, because I've never done a load test in Boston. I said I needed an excuse for one, so we created one. So we load tested, but I want to show you the craziness.
So now we're loading onto a stair. We're doing
Oh my
a
God.
concentrated load of every
6
other
bags.
stair,
You know what 300 pounds looks like with 50-pound bags? And they fall, and they collapse, and they drop.
Note that the staircase is starting.
All right, so we did in California, we did cable. By the way, guys, remember this, you can do sandbags, water bags, or cable. Do you want to put the 5,000 pounds up here, or do you want to put it on the ground and run a cable up, and then lift the 5,000 pounds 1 inch off the ground? Think about that. So it's not, you don't bring the pound up, you bring the force up there, and you can use cables. There's many ways to load test. You know who designs it? Engineers design it. You know what the norm is? 1,000 pounds? You put 400 pounds, you put 40% of the load. You measure it before, during, and after. Any deflection, what do? Stop. I want to demystify, the process. Once nothing deflects and you've done 40%, now you put the other 60%. What do? Measure before, during, and after for a certain time period, and there's no deflection, guess what you got?
Pass.
A pass. So if you want, you can go on firescapesloadtest.com and see some of this happening stuff, and you can use anything at the ground. You can lift trucks, you can lift. Just make sure you wear your helmets. Fire escapes are tied off in case there's a failure. It relies on another fire escape. This is us using a load cell. Guys, can't give away too much secret, but this again, it's a secret. There it is. By the way, what do you want to walk up to? You want to walk up to a fire escape and you want to have the proper guidelines and you also want to have the reports, confidence tests. Let's start right here. Let's get to the load. Let's take the confidence test. Let's take the one that is, should we do the Portland one? It's the same test, exact test. So, anybody got the Portland one? The other one you can use yourself. You can go online to any of our websites and you can get a blank one. You can put your own name at the very top. Or you can use your own, you can use this as a guide and you can answer the questions on your own letterhead. Got it? So let's do the Portland. This is a draft, this has not been accepted. Portland one. All right, so everybody grab one and start filling it in. Sort of, I'm going to go very quickly through it so you understand why we ask every question. Remember, this is a mousetrap because we've had the perfect storm of stupidity. From the top to the bottom, there's been people who have not been watched. You can do anything you damn please. But now I've made people interconnect to each other. So right now, in order for you to get away with something, somebody else has to let you. And that makes them an accomplice. Got it? So let's start at the very top. Is that the correct information for you, Stu? Should you approve this?
Yes.
All right, by the way, it says this document expires 30 days from date of delivery to owner agent via email or by mail unless a design professional or others retained for engineer oversight and writing. Meaning this is a pass-fail. Cannot go pull a permit. This tells you what the problems are, not where they exist, what and how many exist. Got it? This is the cheapie, $500 to $150. It automatically expires. When Stu gets one of these, 30 days later, it's gone. The owner cannot use it as a repair document. And believe me, they're selling your first visit as a repair document all day long. And we're barely getting any information because it's not a true repair document because those things cost $3 to $5 grand, $5 to $8 grand. That's the going rate. But that's a lot more detail, right? So number two, I need to know who the owner is and I need to know who the agent is, and I only need one of them. If you want to put both of them, you can, but a lot of times the agent is the only one that fills it out, such as the management company. In the middle, you guys see the middle box there? It says, give you a little diagram of where the building is, where the fire escape is. So please, no artistic way, just, it's a box. This is the front, and then, I'm sorry, this is the front as it says, just draw it by hand, and the fire escape is on this corner, just put an X on it. And it says, if you know the north, if you know the arrow, just put an arrow over that, just say, will that help you, Stu? Knowing where the fire escape is, okay, continue. Anybody, just start spewing out if you disagree with some of this stuff. The next question is, I want the design professional or others acceptable to the city official. I want all their name and information and licenses. Stu, you need to know that? Is that important for you? So you can accept the other? I need to know the inspection date. I need to know the violation number. I need to get all that information because that's how you, sometimes you don't know an address, you know a violation number. The next document, if this is the initial document, there is no repair vendor. If this is a certification, guess what I need to put on there for Stu and for anybody else? I need to put the repair vendor's name, number, license number, and repair permit. So this is the first catch. There is no repair permit. What happens? Will Stu accept this incomplete document?
Yes.
Stu will accept it?
Well,
An
there's
incomplete
not a
document?
repair number, I mean, it's our permit number.
Right, so Stu will not.
He's going off of the entities that are certified with the affidavit.
Pretend this is a room of just what it could be.
Oh.
Not what it is.
Portlandia is utopia.
Portlandia.
Okay.
So please, so you understand now there's two people that have to know each other. There's a cross-check system.
Okay.
No repair, it's an incomplete report. He needs further information, got it?
Okay.
Now let's go down to this document is a pass-fail report or a fail report with attached documentation. Which one is this? That he needs to know. Because if it's a pass-fail, it expires.
30 days.
A pass-fail report goes on for how long?
Approximately 6 months.
The norm is 30 days, but you know what they ask for in the rest of the country? They ask for a 60 or 90-day extension, meaning up to 90 days. And he can continue giving him additional extensions as long as you see progress and report. So the norm is your violation has 30 days to cure, unless in writing you get from him another violation date. Got it? We're in utopia, Portlandia, right? So imagine this is really working. The next question, it has the golden parachute that everybody loves. Ready? To the best of my information, knowledge, and belief, the following opinions are true, right? Some engineers and architects and a lot of professionals love that statement because now I want to know, and he wants to know, Did you do a visual walkthrough? Did you physically get on this fire escape and that's what you, and it says right there, no load test was performed, no destructive testing was done. This is a pass-fail. We're just looking at it. I gotta see what the problem is, not where it is and how many exist. Got it? The second one is I didn't get on it because 2 reasons. One, I couldn't get access, and that sometimes happens, and you'll never get access, and you'll have to use binoculars, and sometimes it's too dangerous to get on it. I can only examine from above, and I gotta give you photographic, zoomed photographs. Got it? Good for you? I gotta tell you whether the fire escape passed or failed and if there's any life safety issues. If there is a life safety issue, he needs to know right away. This comes to him right away the first day, because life safety issues weren't resolved how quickly?
Yesterday.
Yesterday. Normally it's 24 to 48 hours, but they have a document that they received that they have to notify him and they choose whether they come down or not. If I'm in LA and my license, I find the life safety issue, I have to call the local firehouse. I'm gonna lose my license. I have to call the local fire station, call the captain in charge and say, I'm sitting on a life safety issue, can you please come down? I can't leave. If I leave, I lose my license. The trucks go, woo! And the guy comes down there and I says, see you later. Now that fire captain deals with that fire issue and that owner and everybody. That's in LA. Required by license, otherwise you lose your license. You cannot leave a life safety concern. Like it? Good. All right, let's keep going on. So the next one is I only have 4 options for you to get a pass on this fire escape. You're gonna, the system is certified by load test. Portlandia load test is
200.
200, okay? The fire escape is certified by other evidence of strength, signed by a structural engineer. You okay with it? Okay? And the third one is, the fire escape system is certified by opinion affidavit. Is that anywhere in the code? Anywhere in any code that you can give me an opinion. It's not, but it's been the norm for 25, 50 years, still exists, and people will force it down your throat, including the mayor, right? But it says, accepted by the AHJ as ready for use with a opinion disclaimer of liability. You know what that means? When I give him a disclaimer, and I gave Chicago a disclaimer, and I give New York City a disclaimer, you know what I say on that? It's a nice long document that my lawyers wrote up for me after I got sued in Chicago for it, and guess what got me out of trouble? Not that I created any trouble, but the golden parachute, the opinion affidavit, I pulled it, and it worked, but it cost $1 million. Got it? So let me tell you what the opinion affidavit says. It says that here's an opinion, and the engineers and architects love it. It says, I will sign that today, that fire escape is not on the ground. It looks good today. But tomorrow it falls on the ground. The owner of this building will hold us harmless, that's what mine says. Pay all my legal fees. If there's any award of any kind, they'll pay those too. And by the way, I want the city official to check with their legal department to say if there's any liability, because you accepted such a document as an opinion, which is nowhere in the codes, that your legal department says, oh, we might as well use our own disclaimer, putting it also back on the owner. But let your legal department decide that. It's not my decision. But that's what we do. And then the final one is a simple one. It says the fire escape failed. It's not structure sound that hasn't been kept painted. So that's all I'm saying. And there's further investigation. Notice I've stuck your little Portland code in there. So normally in this space down here, what I put is I can put in IBC, IFC, NFPA. And by the way, the insurance companies right now, we're dealing with insurance companies when they want load tests or other evidence of strength throughout the country. So after a while, the codes don't even matter. The insurance companies say, if this thing wasn't load tested or other evidence of strength, not just load test, they say we won't take that building. So that's happening as we speak right now. And then at the bottom it says I got to declare on the penalty, I got to sign it as another, or I got to sign it as an engineer, and where's my stamp go? Right there. And by the way, Stu, it says here, did you take this over the phone, by email, or did you go in and inspect the fire escape yourself? So here's how you remove the violation. Until the city official signs on it, even though they did a permit process, until he signs on it and accepts it, it's not closed. So we loop this back around on a pass, back to the guy that wrote the original violation. So you can't skirt the process. Where the violation starts is the final one that signs off, regardless of permit process and sign-offs and all that other stuff. It goes back to process. We clear on that? We're doing good, guys. Page 2. Top of the document. You need to put the address again on there. And you need to put the site inspection date again on there. And again, it repeats itself that this is not a construction control document. Can't be used for permit, and it expires in 30 days. Again, it will repeat. Did it pass? Did it fail? Did it have any life safety issues? We have a simple checkbox system. That is not the inspection. All it is, that's just a little graphic checkbox. Overall, everything stays within poor and fair, poor and fair, right? But down below, you see, if some of these things have life safety issues, this is a chance for you to do it. You also have some pre-existing lawfully non-conforming issues. All right, so just so you guys know, a fire escape built in 1965, you have to satisfy 1965 codes. There's no forced upgrade ever. Got it? Now, if it was wrong in 1965, you got an upgrade. Now they can go to full upgrade. But a fire escape must be maintained as of the date of installation. 1916, you will meet 1916 code. By the way, the 100-pound rule has been around forever, so there's no like lesser issues. But a lot of the fire escapes cannot be forced into an upgrade, and that sometimes happens. It's in the code. It's called lawfully non-conforming, and that has gone to court. We have a fire escape that we have to show 1965 code on it to say this is lawful in 1965. And you can't force an upgrade here. Now, if there's a change of use, now you've kicked the can open. Now that fire escape has, cracked it open. But we're talking about an existing building, the way it is, still the way it is, as is, the way lawfully non-conforming. You need to check that box. Missing and not applicable. Okay, guys? Question number 1. Write little notes now. When I wrote this question, what's it mean? All fabrication, installation, and maintenance of the fire escape is to code and met the industry standard on the date of installation. That's the code, the lawfully non-conforming. I didn't say whether it was a good or bad fire escape that day. Does this fire escape you look like the one across the street, or was it built by a witch doctor? That's the only thing you're asking here. Is it built to industry standard as you can see with the visual eye? If the answer is yes, just write that. Yes, it looks like in this building, and if you can't put the date of the building or when you think the fire escape went in. Number 2, there is no pre-existing non-conforming issues requiring HJ approval. Meaning, I get there and I have 24-inch high rails. I have wood, I have electrical wire or electrical pipe as a rail. That's not pre-existing. I have to go back and say, hey, there's some things here that didn't meet the code then, and I need him to give me a decision on what's going on with that, okay? Well, fire and or building code, right? All welds passed by visual observation only, unless noted, rebolted, x-rayed, or load tested. So, I can pass at this time any weld that I see, because it's just a visual. I didn't x-ray or load test it. Got it? So yes, if a weld looks good, if it looks like it's already bulging and got rust jacking happening in it, I must note here and say no. And there's a little space there for a 1, 2, or 3 word comment. I don't want a big write-up there. This is a pass-fail. The big write-ups come in what's called a repair report for permit, which must be submitted to planning and permit for review. Number 4, overall the fire escape system passes. This is overall. If it doesn't pass, it doesn't pass. Just say no, it didn't pass. Not structurally sound and has not been kept painted. That's all you need to write here. Footings. So fire escapes go up only a few ways. You have a fire escape with legs to the ground, you have a fire escape that is embedded into the cement, and you have a fire escape that's primarily wood ones are through bolted back into the building. That's it. So I cover all the components of a fire escape here. So the footings to the ground. You're looking at the foundation of the ground, you're looking at just anything that's related to the footings of this fire escape. They pass or fail. Number 6, this is a wall question, guys. This is not the fire escape itself where it ties in. We'll get to that question. The entire wall of this fire escape system, I'm giving you just a visual opinion that I don't see anything bulging, I don't see any major structural cracks. That's what that question is. 7, supports into masonry wall. That means that you're looking at this and this is one of those cemented and embedded ones. Through bolts. This is primarily in wood, but some masonry buildings have the through bolt and a plate on the inside. Platforms. Every platform, whether it's got cement, slats, wood, every platform is covered here, and you want to give an opinion. Did the platform pass? Stair stringers. This is just the 2 sides of a stair. There's top clips and there's bottom clips. Are they both there? You can't have just the top ones and nothing at the bottom. You have to secure, the entire staircase must be secured. Treads and plates and slats. All the treads normally have 8 bolts. 2 side ones, 4 total holding the sides, 4 holding the top on average. They all must have no rust, no internal jacking of any kind. Railings. Every railing on the platform going down the stairs, on the cantilever, every railing passed on this fire escape. You got to say that here. Again, this is a pass-fail. This is not a repair report where you need to identify the 3rd railing on the top left corner is bad. all the railings passed? The answer is no, some failed, that's it. Just make a little note here saying some of the rails did not pass, I can't load test at this time. Ladders to the roof. By the way, you know, Portlandia over here is the only crazy place where they climb 100, they make these guys climb with the outside of nowhere else in the country will they make you climb a 10-story building on the outside so that the owners can just walk the inside of the fire escape. Nowhere. Should they have, you know, the loops around that? The answer is yes. Should there be a simple cable system, and that can be easily retrofitted, where there's a cable on the outside of that rail, so as soon as you get there, you kind of harness up to the cable and you run up the cable that has that, in case you fall, it locks into the cable. I don't know, a lot of the harnesses have that automatic locking thing. Either loop the thing or put a standard cable on there, so as soon as you hit the ladder, because you guys come with your 20-footers, you hit it, you climb up, and that poor soul with 300 pounds, you gotta go 100 feet to put a hole in the roof. I wouldn't, I don't. And I'm an inspector, and that's just insane, you know what I'm saying? And I've done that, I've had to climb, we did a tower one time, a radio tower, and I had to climb a ladder on the outside, I was scared to death. And guess who had to run the first safety line? So in order to run the safety line, I had to go by myself up there first, then I ran a safety line. Crazy. So that, I think that needs to be addressed so that you're the only one in the whole country that makes the guy do. Otherwise, firemen get on the fire escape, go up the stairs. That's it.
That was good for us when we were kids, so we figured.
I'll tell you, it's crazy. Insane. All right, so I'll carry the roof. Roof must be verified, include the attachment into the roof. Balance ladders. Those are the ladders that are not guillotine, you know what I'm saying? It has a cable, has a weight, you let it go, it drops 2 to 3 feet per second and hits the ground. Oh, by the way, oh, this is another problem you guys have here, which you guys did. Oh, I think it's one of the other ones, I'll show you. But basically, you guys have taken all the cantilevers off some of your buildings, and now people land 12 to 15 feet off the ground, and there's no box of parachutes.
12 to 20.
12 to 20 feet. And that's an incomplete fire escape. I can't sign off on that fire escape. It's incomplete to grade, must be to grade. So at least put a thing that says you can put a ladder, the fold-out ladders again, back on, or it must be a cantilever to the ground. But right now, you get there, and you just stand there, and you jump 50 to 20 feet to the ground. And they used this evidence that there was fire escape systems there, but when they were breaking into these buildings, somebody had a great idea of saying, okay, no, remove. This is just a knee-jerk reaction that happened 20 years ago for people to stop breaking into your buildings downtown that are now worth $1 or $2. And they said, well, you know what, to stop these kids from going in and smoking dope, let's just get these cantilevers down and these ladders down. And you guys had accordion ladders at one time, yeah, you guys had everything. Guess what? That's a liability waiting to happen, because as soon as somebody falls, breaks their leg, anything happens, that's a quick, your legal department's gonna say, why? We've talked about this already? We haven't fixed this? Because that was an unlawful fix that had nothing to do with code. So it was a code, it was an ordinance that basically broke the code the day it was written.
Portlandia.
Portlandia, well, it's Portlandia code. All right, so guys, let me continue because I don't want to stay on schedule here. So, cantilevers, cantilevers must be balanced. You guys know what a cantilever is? You walk out, I'll show you things where I can walk out 10 to 15 feet and the fire escape will not come down. Whether it's balance on the back or balance on the nose. You know what happens when I get too close to that cable? You know what happened out in Utah, right? So right now I'm telling you that all cantilevers in the rest of non-Portlandia, you walk out, you don't have to walk out, there's a release arm on it. And as soon as you release the seesaw that's perfectly balanced, 2/3 in the front, 1/3 on the back with a weight box on it. She only weighs 25 pounds on the nose, and as soon as you walk through this bar that blocks your passage, and it's on my drawings, we'll show it to you in a second. As soon as you go through that, it automatically pivots, releases, it drops 2 to 3 feet per second, hits the ground and stays down. People self-evacuate. When you show up, it's waiting for you. You don't have to bring any ladders. That's the correct way. And at the same time, because it is a locking mechanism, guess who can't break into your building by throwing up a broom, or throwing up a rope, or throwing up and pulling it down and breaking into the building? It's also a safety device. Because you can't twist it because it's upstairs, it's locked in. That's a cantilever. So we talk about cantilevers at this time. Catwalks. Catwalks are part of the code. You must be complete to grade. So if you're walking over a roof and it's wood, you have to have a raised, elevated catwalk system. It's a bridge, it's a metal bridge for the tenants and the firemen to use if they have to cross a fire. At the same time, if the roof is all cement and it's fire rated, then I just need ladders, railings on either side to keep these people from falling off the roof. That's all you have to do. You have to guide them until they hit the ground in a public way, and then guess what? Now go kill yourself. But, was that my inner voice? Don't blame traffic. Number 17, guys, this is a critical one. All components, doors, windows, function. Meaning, right now, as you're walking through this, you're verifying that the doors look like they are all operational. I didn't say you have to open up every window, but you're looking at it. There's nothing cracked, nothing's twisted, nothing's rotted. You're saying all the doors look like they're feeding this fire escape. Electrical power has to be 10 feet away or it has to be blocked. Because when the guys are blowing water on this electrical 200 amp, 400 amp line coming in next to the fire escape, guess what happens? Right? And if the people are hanging AC units and all this electrical stuff on your fire escape and they're blowing water on it, guess what happens? This is one of the questions. Can they even do that? They did it without your permission anyway. You're going to get it off. Satellite dishes, can they be on fire escapes? Hanging laundry? Bicycles and... Well, that's the next question. Overall, the fire escape is not illuminated due to pre-existing code on date of installation. What's that mean? Today's code, you put an egress out, what do you need? Boop. Old code, what did you not need?
Just
You walk that fire escape on sunlight or moonlight. That's all you get. But does it pass that day? Because it's not illuminated. Did it pass? That old fire escape?
Yes.
Yes, because what you have there is a pre-existing non-conforming issue. Can he force a light on you? Nope.
Nope.
Can he strongly request that in that darkened alley that, put on a light there, please? I highly recommend everybody put a sensor light on all your fire escapes because it's the best deterrent ever. And you make that sensor light near the ladder, near the cantilever, and facing as close to the building so that walking people don't do it. Because as soon as they try to get up on that fire escape and do everything, the light comes on. The only thing better than that, which I saw in New Jersey, the guy had a sensor light connected to his hose. There's a sensor light that if you get any motion, it actually stopped the hose. He did that to get rid of cats that came in and kept pooing on his yard. I thought it was the greatest thing, because I'm walking back there, I triggered the sensor, I got a shower of water, I said, what the hell? And so imagine a sprinkler system somewhere, a hose system tied in somewhere so that when the sensor light goes on, you don't get a light, you get a nice spray.
You just hooked that up to the standpipe, right?
Well, yeah, the standpipes are all great standpipes right now, yeah. Because they're all testing the standpipes on fire escapes that are perfectly good in Portlandia. Overall the fire escape, number 20, overall the fire escape system has no interior or exterior obstruction. Bicycles, cans, fruits, vegetables, plants, right? 100% clean, right? Unless it has plenty of room, and then sometimes these things are monstrous and they have chairs, but what must they leave at all times?
Access.
Open, clear path. All right, overall the fire escape system has no storage of flammables, meaning propane tanks, lawnmowers, motorcycles underneath the fire escape with full gas tanks. Why? Obvious. The next question now, the fire escape is made up of what? Steel, galvanized steel, aluminum, wood, mixed, other, cement? Got to write it down here. He wants to know what this thing is made of. Some of them are mixed. 23, the fire escape system is maintained, painted, and steel. This is the must be kept painted rule. And you say here, yes, it has been kept painted, or no, it has not been kept painted. Got it? The next question is, the owner's been notified of the EPA in 2010 that this thing has lead. It's older than 78, presumed to have lead. I don't have to test for lead. It's presumed to have lead. That's what the law says. Okay? And number 25. You know what number 25 is? That's the Portlandia 25. You can make up any rules you want on number 25. Put in things in here that only Portlandia has, such as unicorns and purple dinosaurs.
200-pound load test.
200-pound load test. Well, actually, that's coming later. So guys, this 25 is the catch-all. Awnings that don't have passage. Just any crazy thing that somebody put in a pole or a dance pole or put a rock underneath the fire escape. Any crazy thing is for 25. That's number 25. Write it in because you want to say that other than being a standard fire escape, we found, I got one that's over a beach, guys. You land in the water. I got a fire escape that the final piece is the ocean.
That's Malibu.
No, that's actually Boston. That's close. Guys, so steps to certification. Let me ask you if this is correct. Repair report by design professional is acceptable, because this is a pass fail, this is not acceptable. Permit by licensed vendor with EPA license, is that all right? Progress, final inspection by design professional or other, is that all right? Submit a final certification by load test, other evidence of strength, or an opinion affidavit with disclaimer. You choose. Repeat every 5 years. Did I break any law here? Okay, so going to the other side. I think these got punched in the order. See the one that says guidelines and procedures? And it has all the codes in there, including the NFPA, the IFC, the technical report, frequently asked questions. You see that? This belongs to the authority having jurisdiction. And I asked Portlandia, says, hey, we're going to test this the way rational and normal people do. And I was wondering if here in Portlandia you have any other crazy ways of doing this thing. And you would say, number one, I want a load test. If you're not using other evidence of strength, I want 200 pounds per square foot because it's not standard. I would write, I want you to use stainless steel bolts. I want you to use a special paint. I want you to or not to weld. You know, whatever comes in, I have to write it here. This goes to the owner. That says, I have spoken with the authority having jurisdiction. This is what he wants. Because there may be other things specific to that building that are above and beyond the standard repair and or load test requirement. That means I've communicated with the guy that's going to accept my document. He knows this is coming. Because now again, this forces me back to speak with who? The authority having jurisdiction, which could be him at the beginning, but it could be the building department in the middle. All these are all the codes known to exist related to the fire escape. All the interpretations are there. Frequently asked questions. What is an inspection? What is a load test? What is other evidence of strength? It's all written there, including the technical documentation. Got it? The next one. Please, I just need you to give me an official document from Portland that says this is what the fire prevention wants, and it's all just spelled out. And it says, here's our local code, backed up by the state code, and then it has all his information down at the bottom. In case you have a question, then they will yell at me when I start saying 50 grand. And you know when you get that phone call down there, you know what you say? Have you spoken with Stu?
Oh, I do.
That's how you get around. And don't give the general number, give him the cell number, so they can text him.
Here's his home phone number.
Here's his home phone
Call
number.
it after 9 at night.
And we have this skywriting plane that just writes above his house because he's ignoring you. Guys, there's one more. I think this got stamped in, stapled. It's page number 6, the final rat trap. Everybody please go to the vendor document sheet. And again, it's all the same address at the top. It has all the information, original design and site information date. Top of the thing, it says the vendor who's going to bid this job. What do I need from him? I need all his name, address, and phone number, license numbers, expiration dates, insurances, workers' comp liability, renovator license numbers. I need, in order for you to bid this properly, and this is for the client, because they're going to get 3 to 5 of the bids, witch doctors do not need to apply. Got it? The next question says, give me 3 references in the past 3 months, not the past 3 years of work you've done, so that that owner can go look at a nice job. He has no standards. You have any say on this, who they pick? But if they send you a witch doctor, you're going to allow a witch doctor?
Not like that.
If a structural engineer or a registered architect looks at this document and they're sending him a witch doctor to do the job, is he going to sign off on that guy? So this is, again, another mouse trap for rats, not for cats. Okay, so now, once they've done the top part, and this is an express proposal. This is not a real proposal, this is an express proposal. It says the authority having jurisdiction and the design professional and the owner all want the following. They want a business license. They want a construction license, because some of these guys have business license, but they don't have a construction license in this field. You know what I'm saying? Oh, I got a business license. What do you call yourself? Oh, best fire escape company in the world. Oh, that's great. Do you have a construction license? What's that? I have a license in it. It's my license. It's called Best Fire Escape Company in the World. Yeah, but your construction license, do you have, are you construction, metal, ornamental, welding, steel structures, I-beams? Do you have that license? What's that? Exactly. So, EPA renovator's license, right? Workman's compensation, liability. Because not only are you going to list the owner as an additional insured, the engineer wants the same to be listed as an additional insured. All permits if required, because some work is so minor, there is no permits coming, right? Hey, ready?
Not for land yet.
All right,
Sorry.
let's all step outside the world, ready? In anywhere else in the world, right, in the 50 states, if I'm painting a fire escape, I do not need a permit.
Correct.
If I change bolt or bolts on a fire escape on the routine maintenance, no permit required.
Correct.
I will, if I start moving a platform, I start any additions to it, only that piece needs a permit and a stamp. Otherwise, it's all routine maintenance. Correct.
Can I just want to.
You're the only one. No, you're the only one. You should say it in the front.
You know,
Right?
just to give you a background, all fire escapes to be certified have to have a permit issued through the city that then gets reflected to the city marshal and at that time. So we do in the city of Portland have to have a permit to have a fire escape certified.
That's for doing the certification, true. But what he was alluding to there is if you're doing some minor work on it,
Okay.
and you're changing out this bolt is getting exactly.
I.e.
3 bolts in that
maintenance
joint
from the
rotate,
building owner,
But
etc.
not changing out rivets and stuff.
Right, like for
things
like.
that. But if you're going for the finder certification stuff, yeah, that's definitely going through our permit process right now.
You give it a little gray area, which I would exploit, like really big, but you know, in the rest of the country, the problem is it did get out of hand. The witch doctors got in, the $3,000 guys versus the $13,000 guys versus the $33,000 guys, they all quit the business. The engineers, so in Boston, ready? Not Portlandia, almost done here. In Boston, I have a G3 license, and I can repair the own fire escape. And I can sign off on my own work.
Fox watching the
And
headlines.
not pull a permit. Okay, guess who's not my model city? All right, so that's right, that's what happens right now. So I can fix it, and I can say, damn, I did a good job. And the witch doctors are running rampant. And I brought this to the attention of the city officials, and guess what they've done?
Nothing.
There you go. So let's keep going forward. So at the very bottom over here, guys, and we're ready to take a break. And I'll tell you what the next step is. All work, so all permits if required have to be signed off by everybody associated with the process. All work performed by owner agent. Some owners will do self-help, guys. Non-licensed and or uninsured individual, meaning my maintenance guy is going to fix the fire escape for us. May be rejected if not industry standard. Additional fees and documentation may be required in these cases before release of the certification system. Otherwise, the certification may be done at their own risk, meaning an opinion affidavit. So sometimes they come in and they start doing home remedies on these things, and it's not my call anymore. Because when we fill out this incomplete documentation, guess who's not accepting it? Can they go back in? Yeah, they can do whatever they want because so we basically tied 2 or 3 people together because this was the perfect storm of stupidity. Right? And then at the very bottom it says here, you're going to fix my fire escape because sometimes you wait so long to get 3 to 5 bids. This is the bid document. So you call, hey Joe, yeah, I know you're going to get your computer up and running and give me a really good proposal, but how much? Oh, $18,000, great. Joe, out of that, how much of it was structural? $15,000. Great. How much of that was paint? $3,000. Okay, great. How much of that is structural or load testing? None. Okay. And what are you going to do? Well, I'm going to change this bolt. I'm going to fix that bracket. I'm going to do the thing. Okay, great. So the owner can kind of fill this in himself, just so that he can look at 3, and then as soon as he finds 3 to 5, he goes, you know, I like one. Let me use Dion. Guess what you're going to do? It says right here, a formal proposal contract now must be submitted because this is the fast track of how do I get 3 to 5 bids. Like this mousetrap so far? Oh, by the way, at the very bottom, guess who has to sign it again? Because as this thing goes through the process, because before it goes to permit, guess who wrote the violation? Guess who's going to get it all back because he's going to, guess the first one to review the repair report. Right? Once he gets the repair report and he says, you know, this looks good, they've got this, where must he send it to? In Portlandia. The building. Building is going to tack on all these fees. King Richard, you know, what's the fees? The fees for looking, the fees for touching. There's a fee for everything over there, right? And then all of a sudden when they're done and they do their sign-offs, you know, whatever, what happens? Is it complete? Can he remove? Can they call up on the phone and say, hey, Stu, it's all done. We just finished the documentation there. Can he remove the violation? If he gets a call from the commissioner over there? So once it's all done, he needs to come back and to remove the violation, he must sign it. And it says right at the bottom, H2, did you take this as email, or did they mail it in, or did you do this after your final inspection? So we've circled everything back. We don't care what happens in the building side of it, in order for him to guarantee the safety of his firemen and the tenants of that building, because word is not coming back full circle until he signs off. When does the violation from the from the fire department get taken off? When he signs this final piece of paper. Was it load test or what? You don't care whether it's another evidence of strength, or whether it's a load test or an opinion, until you come back and sign the final document, which is page 1. You need your signature on this document now. And it needs to say, how did you receive it? On the counter, or did you go to a final? So it basically puts him at the beginning of the problem, and now you're at the end of the problem. No matter how long it took on that side, you will not remove that violation. They got to bring it back. And everybody's signed, and everybody's sealed. And then there's a new inspection, and they all say, when you pass this fire escape, you set this page, set page 2, and you set page 3, and what's it must all say? Must all say yes, or NA, meaning not applicable at this time. If you have one no in there, can he accept it? And because page 1, he's going to accept it, he's going to say, oh, violation number, permit number, insurances, signs, stamps, my signature, oh my God, it's like writing a mortgage. And who has he just guaranteed the safety of? The tenants. Who else has he guaranteed the safety of?
Fire department, for sure.
Fire department. And by the way, there's a new ordinance coming in Portlandia. You know about this one, right? The one that you got. No, there's a new ordinance. In order to help jumpstart this fire escape program, the Fire Escape Reform Act of Portlandia, I don't know if you know that, all rent checks from now must be collected by the owner of the building through the fire escape system on the outside of the window. So you can only collect rent checks through the window. The owner, not an owner agent, the owners of these buildings must go through the fire escape and collect the rent checks by knocking on the window and say, hey, you have my rent? So no longer can the rent be sent in. You have to collect it through the fire escape. You're going to find out about a lot more fire escapes out there that are not so good anymore. And all you have to do is just make sure you put your rent check on the inside of the window, not on the outside. Because believe me, they'll come in the middle of the night and steal. They got to knock on the window. And if they won't climb the fire escape, you don't have to pay your rent. That's going to work here in Portlandia for that would help. That's going to help a lot of people. So, guys, I'm 5 minutes over. Here's what's happening next. You got an hour and a half to go and do whatever you want to do. Right after that, we're going to meet back here at 1 o'clock, and we're just going to take this class, we're going to close it all up, steal some donuts, take some things home, and we're going to walk outside, and we're just going to take a walk around the block, and anything that we look like at a fire escape, we're just going to get over it, under it, around it, and just talk about it, and apply some of the sciences we just learned here.
This is what we've been hanging on fire escapes, all the hard work that you guys have been doing. This is the end product. And depending on the year that it was, the affidavit was indicating it was done, that's there. The backside, it gets the information written on it, the address, the date it was tested, initial signed off by me, and then description of which fire escape location it was that we're dealing with. In this one's case, you notice there's an X through it because these don't erase where it means. And this particular fire escape did not get tested. But I was on site with this sign in my possession under the understanding that it had been tested. Somebody's not real happy with that one. It's back in process. So it was an interesting snafu that included a whole bunch of players. 2 of the 3 fire escapes got tested.
Well, we'll conclude on that. Seattle wants this on all their fire escapes. So when you're an engineer and you examine, you must leave a yellow or a red tag on it that you pay for. And these can be made in your office and laminated in your office because they're temporary. Whenever you put a white one, this is done by a printing company. It's 1/8 thick white vinyl, and we pay for it, charging the client. We put it up, so the fire department does not pay for any of its signs. We pay for the white signs, the client does. The sign gets put 7 to 10 feet. So every time you leave a fire escape, you always leave it with 1 of 3 tags. You gotta leave it with a yellow, means it's under repair, 90 days later it'll all get resolved. You leave it with a red, means it's somebody's gonna get hurt on this, and by that time it's a life safety issue. The building will be visited because they're either gonna vacate or resolve the issue immediately. But when it's white, which these tags don't tell you, you know, they started this in, where's your tag? Is that me?
Oh, sorry.
What happened in Seattle when they did this, people were stealing the tags and putting it on their own fire escape because you don't know what's the address. So these things have to have your address to stop people from stealing them. So, oh, I'm good. I'm just going on Charlie's fire escape pass. I'll put it on mine. So, you know what I'm saying? They're stealing these. So now, believe me, we've already done this. This rodeo has been gone already. So they have to have the tags 7 to 10 feet off the ground. And by the way, this is what it looks like. This is one of your fire escapes. Oh, why? With a plunge of death. Got it? You got to resolve this. This is a liability for your city. You got to resolve this. But why? This is what it looks like, guys. In Seattle, you're going down an alleyway. These things are 11 by 19, hung on the lowest portion of a fire escape, 7 to 11 feet off the ground. 7 to 10 feet off the ground, permanently attached to the building. And on that, you can see when it was inspected. What's the next inspection date? You don't have to go back to the building and find out if it's been inspected or not. It has who fixed it, license numbers, and the engineers get to advertise that they did what? That they did it. So if the neighbor wants help, they're like, oh, I'm going to call this guy because they did that fire escape right down there, right? And that's what it looks like. These are 8.5 by 11. Got it? End of class. If you want to be, so let's make it so that we're back here at 1:15.
And we'll take a walk from here.
If anybody has any questions, I'll be here for a little bit longer. If you have cards, you want to give me cards, you want to talk to me, come on down.
Take a long walk.
I know.
Use your foot for fire escape inspection.